The story begins with an intense computer game going on. The guy has a chance to win since the boss's skills take a long time to recover. If they fail to kill this boss in this period of time, then he will use his skills a second time and then they will all die. Game character Lu Xun appears. Level 102 Minotaur defeated. The audience cheers, calling Lu Shen the strongest. Lu Xun has 2 more rounds left and will complete his order. The girl is very worried about her brother. He hasn't slept for 3 days now. If he continues like this, his body won't be able to handle it. Lu Xun reassures his sister that everything is fine. In addition, he must finish the order quickly so that they have money for school, since classes will start soon. Sister doesn't need to worry. Lu Xun has already thought of everything. When they save up for school, he will no longer have to earn money by playing computer games. Our hero, Lu Xun, is a professional player, or rather a professional booster. He accepts orders on the internet, helps people boost their accounts, make equipment, and collect resources. For money, he is ready to do anything. My parents died early, and there were no savings left at home. Lu Xun was small and could not do anything except play. This work is very tiring, but at least he and his sister have enough to live on. Now Lu Xun has another small order. If he creates an account and completes tasks that are difficult for a beginner, he can sell it and earn quick money. Suddenly Lu Xun felt that he could not move his hand. The body stopped moving altogether. Lu Xun couldn't believe it. He lost consciousness, thereby frightening his sister very much. 2 men were playing a board game. One of them was not sure of his move, but he believed that by making a move there was no need to feel any regrets. Lu Xun woke up somewhere in a sunny clearing. He had absolutely no idea what had happened or where he was. He was wearing completely different clothes that were not his, and he looked different than before. Lu Xun looked into the water surface and saw the face of a handsome man in the reflection. Suddenly a thought struck him. This place was very similar to the account that Lu Xun had just created. He was frightened by the thought that he might have entered the Tianshuan world. Lu Xun could not understand how he could end up in the game world. He decided that it was just a dream, but he had no time to sleep because he had to feed his younger sister. He urgently needed to wake up. But even after the guy pinched himself, he did not wake up, which means it was all true. He ended up in the account he created in the game. Suddenly Lu Xun noticed a girl flying nearby. The stranger also noticed the guy. The guy realized that he was in a game of the Sangxia genre, Chinese fantasy, created under the influence of Chinese mythology, Taoism, Chinese martial arts, and other elements of Chinese culture. First of all, Lu Xun needed to protect his life, although he believed that the girl would not attack such an ordinary person like him. The girl stopped, looking at him with wide eyes. She realized that he was indeed a top-class specimen, using him for cultivation. Lu Xun was pleased to be a top-class specimen, but due to the fact that he only encountered low-level opponents, he was only able to reach level 233, while the rest had already risen to 999. He was just a springboard to raise the level of other people. But Lu Xun could not afford to do the same, because then many would want to kill him. Lu Xun was sure that this girl was the kind of girl who seemed modest, and then turned out to be watching porn or something like that. The girl thought Lu Xun was very handsome. If she pumps magic with him, it will not be at her loss. On the contrary, she will be able to make money from it. Her parents were killed because they accidentally received a magic sword and cultivation methods. Since then, she has had a bloody feud with those people, and her main goal is to become stronger and avenge her parents. Now paired magic pumping and the heavy sword wedding dress are her only hope. But for paired magic training, she needed to find a handsome man. The girl was going to kidnap Lu Xun, but the problem was that they could be caught up by the people who were chasing her. Lu Xun was very scared when the girl approached him. After all, she could use force, and he was just a first-level scum who had nothing but a face. The girl just asked if Lu Xun wanted to go with her. This made him think that such a girl from a rich family could not kidnap people. Lu Xun exhaled in relief and grinned, causing the girl to immediately blush. She thought that the guy even laughed beautifully. Lu Xun was very surprised, as this helped to add sympathy. Previously, he would tear his throat to gain the favor of NPCs, but now everything was so simple. The girl looked at Lu Xun enthusiastically. She thought his jawline, his face, and everything about him were beautiful. Lu Xun wondered, since he had her sympathy, could he tell her the truth? All he had to do was go to the nearest city and ask a master to teach him. But suddenly the girl heard that they were catching up. Taking the guy in her arms, she started running. The hunters who arrived smelled the girl's scent. They set off in pursuit of her because after they kill her, they will receive a magic sword and the secret of improvement. Lu Xun was surprised. It seemed to him that they had passed here several times already. Lu Xun thought that this strange girl was lost. The guy tried to ask the girl a question but realized that he could not speak. Lu Xun's attention was drawn to the sword behind the girl's back. It was called Wedding Dress, level yellow. The level of the sword was too low, making it impossible to view the rest of the information. Lu Xun was surprised because the yellow-level sword is a treasure for ordinary people in Tianquan. Lu Xun did not understand why the girl was running so fast if she had topographic cretinism. Suddenly a thought struck him. She was being pursued. The Tianquan continent has a variety of equipment, and weapons, depending on their level, are divided into the following types: ordinary, ritual, spiritual, divine, and magical. For convenience, people name weapons by color: yellow, blue, purple, orange. Wedding Dress is a yellow ritual weapon. At the beginning of the game, this yellow attribute was the cherished dream of people all over the world. After they stopped again, Lu Xun asked if the girl was lost, but she assured him that she was not lost. The girl unsheathed her sword, which made Lu Xun think that she was going to harm him because she could not find the right path. But the girl was not going to harm the guy. With the help of the sword, she determined the path. The girl threw the sword onto the road, and Lu Xun thought that he should move in the direction where the end of the sword was pointing. When they ran, Lu Xun was surprised because the hilt of the sword was pointing in the other direction. He didn't understand what the girl was up to. In the end, Lu Xun thought that no matter which direction they went, they would still end up in the city. After some time, the girl stopped, tired from the journey. Then the girl abruptly lifted Lu Xun into her arms, carefully placing him on the stone. The girl suggested we take a little rest. The guy was surprised. It seemed to him that they were in a hurry. Now it was important to rest a little, and then we will see what will happen next. Looks like they've gotten rid of those people a little bit. The girl was very surprised that the guy wasn't angry or worried at all. She ran with him from those people, but he was not the least bit afraid. Lu Xun decided to introduce himself. Since they were running for their lives, he was wondering where this female devil came from who captured him and made him a cultivator. The girl introduced herself as Li Li. Of course, it was a made-up name to fool him. At first, she thought of calling herself Niu Dazhuang, but she didn't understand why the guy called himself by his real name. Lu Xun had never heard the name Li Li in the main thread Tangshuan. He thought that perhaps it was a trap related to the dragon boss. Could her enemies kill her soon? When Li Li was little, she wanted to catch the cultivator, but now that she did, she still had to carry the heavy yellow sword on her back. She could have died many times at a young age. For her, this life is not at all easy. Suddenly, the guy's stomach began to growl. They fell silent, staring at each other. Lu Xun was frightened by this sudden silence. The girl reached for the flower on her chest. Lu Xun didn't understand what she was going to do. Li Li handed the guy a flatbread that she had grabbed from home. This made Lu Xun change her mind about the girl. Now he did not consider her a devil woman. There was only one piece, and Lu Xun suggested splitting it in half. In the distance, they could hear the screams of the people who were chasing them. They smelled the scent of this woman, and were going to quickly find her and kill her. After all, if they finish her off, the G Palace will be destroyed and all the treasures will be theirs. The girl abruptly pressed her hand to the guy's mouth, stuffing the cake there and forcing him to remain silent. They fell to the ground. After chewing the flatbread, Lu Xun asked if Li had water. Li Li took out her jug, the liquid from which she uses for drinking. But would Lu Xun drink from it? Lu Xun grabbed the jug and began to drink greedily. Li Li was surprised, thinking that this was an indirect kiss. The hunters were even closer. They smelled her. They needed to find her to get the treasure. Lu Xun knew that if they were discovered, it would be all over. It seems that he will have to use his first resurrection coin here. Because after all, Li Li considered him her boyfriend. The guy froze, feeling a breath of freezing wind. This account wasn't just weird, it also had perfume. The girl from the hunters pointed to the bushes. Li Li's scent came from there, she was sure of it. Li Li decided that it didn't matter if she died, but she had to kill at least one. Lu Xun covered her mouth with his hand, ordering her to remain silent, not even to breathe. She gave him half a cake, and he will give her the salvation of her life. After all, Lu Xun, as a professional booster in Tianquan, has hundreds of accounts, and this breath of chilling wind was familiar to him. The people chasing them smelled a strange smell, but whatever it is, they must cope with everything. Suddenly, a strange spirit appeared in front of them. People did not understand what strange things were happening here and what they needed to do with it. In the end, they decided to kill him. This kid, as expected, still bears the nickname Rookie Killer, and it fully lives up to his reputation. Li Li didn't understand what was happening, but Lu Xun was confident in his abilities. It was only necessary to find the right way, because even a 3-year-old child could overcome this spirit. For Lu Sun, as an experienced booster, it was just a moving bag of experience. Lily believed that they were finished, because the spirit had discovered them and was approaching. Lu Xun told the girl to hide and hold her breath. He headed towards the spirit, wishing the girl to enjoy the show. Lily thought that Lu Xun wanted to die and help her cultivate. She didn't want Lu Xun to sacrifice himself for her. She asked him to run faster. It was a monster. Lu Xun assured the girl that there was no need to be afraid. It wasn't a monster, it was a spirit. It seemed that Lily had finally realized that it was a spirit. But Lu Xun did not have time for this. It was time to fight. This spirit was just a gift for a newbie. Lu Xun, of course, did not kill him 1,000 times, but already 998. For killing a mountain spirit, you could get 666 experience points. Lu Xun didn't remember whether killing evil spirits gave him experience points. To do this, he needed to check the character panel. Of course, this is a new account, but even 660 experience points can increase the level. But Lu Xun does not have any fighting skills. He needed to quickly find a martial arts school and learn the techniques. Lu Xun noted that although the girl was young, she had a very beautiful figure. He pointed his finger at her face, trying to bring her to her senses. Having come to her senses, Lily asked what happened to that thing. Lu Xun assured her that he had everything sorted out. Lily was delighted with this. Lu Xun thought that the girl was too sympathetic to him. Lu Xun went to collect his equipment. He needed a little, the girl could keep the rest. Among the equipment were a very long sword, 97 liangs of silver, a robe imitating the robe of an immortal, and a fragile dagger. Lu Xun found a rare book called Will of the Hawk. Zhenghu techniques were prescribed there. Lily noticed that it was difficult to learn techniques without the guidance of a teacher, and suggested that he put the book aside. Maybe later he could sell it at a good price. The game invited the guy to learn a new technique. Deciding that extra skills would not hurt him, Lu Xun studied it. Lu Xun studied the Will of the Hawk, Introduction. Lily was delighted. The guy looked at the book just once and already studied everything. It seems like this is a martial arts genius that appears once every 100 years. Lu Xun was worried that the girl's sympathy level was growing too quickly. What if her sympathy level is too high and she can't control it? Suddenly, Lily jumped up to the guy, asking him to cultivate with her so that they could have a pair cultivation, since she liked him. If it comes to something bigger than him, Lu Xun will not be able to defend himself even with the help of techniques. Or perhaps it will, on the contrary, entice her more. The girl didn't understand why Lu Xun was looking at her like that, and she was also interested in why he didn't ask why she was being persecuted. Lu Xun guessed that it was because the girl was trapping people and forcing them to become her cultivators. Lily was angered by this suggestion since Lu Xun was her only cultivator. The girl wanted to scold the guy, but after looking at him, she changed her mind. For the sake of this face, she was ready to endure. Lu Xun changed the topic by pointing his finger forward. The landscape of the county town opened before the couple. Lily was delighted. She knew the terrain so well because she just wanted to get to Qinmu County. But this turned out to be Wei County. Lu Xun was very familiar with this newbie village. Lu Xun asked one girl, and she said that now in Tiancheng the year is 3,997. But during the open testing of the game in Tiancheng, it was the year 4,000. That is, Lu Xun ended up here 3 years before the open beta version of the game. He had been revived in Wei County about 100 times, so he knew the area well. They needed to find a hotel to rest because Lily had not washed for a long time. 10 minutes later, they found a suitable hotel. There was good quality and a reasonable price. Lily decided that Lu Xun cared so much about her. The hotel worker asked how long the travelers would be staying, to which Lu Xun said that they wanted to stay and needed a room. The employee asked if they needed a room with 1 or 2 rooms. Lu Xun asked Lily to choose. Having overcome her embarrassment, the girl decided that it was with one. However, despite the girl's choice, Lu Xun chose a room with 2 rooms. If they rented a 1-room apartment, they would get a 404 error. So Lu Xun asked the girl to stop pestering him. Lu Xun heard someone asking if there was a free room. Turning around, he saw Murong Yan. She was the leader of the Qinmu County newcomer village, the leader of the Damen school. Moreover, she has level 985. The worker asked the woman to wait while he took the couple upstairs and then returned to her. Lu Xun found the situation interesting, but Murong Yan's authority was not enough to become a mentor for him. The woman's gaze was drawn to the yellow sword behind Lily's back. Lu Xun thought about how suddenly he was reborn in this world, but he managed to buy insurance, so that after his death, his sister should live without worries. She must have been very sad. But she needed to be strong because in the future she would be alone. And the guy needs to be strong too. The guy was interrupted from his thoughts by Li, who suddenly appeared. She was going to sell weapons and invited the guy to go with her. Lu Xun guessed that the girl was afraid that he would run away while she was selling weapons. He assured her that she had nothing to worry about. He wouldn't run away because he had nowhere to run. It was Li's first time going there, so she didn't know what to do yet. She was afraid that the man from the pawn shop might deceive her. Li invited the guy to go with her, help her, and divide the money in half. Lu Xun agreed to go with the girl, but he didn't need the money. He had another request. Lu Xun asked the girl to lift her veil and show him her face. The girl pulled back, saying that first she needed to comb her hair and wash her face. Lu Xun just wanted to joke. The girl's veil was so thin that she could hardly hide anything. After some time, the girl returned, this time without the veil. She was worried whether Lu Xun had changed his mind. He didn't change his mind, but he was worried that if he was sent to prison, then he would lose 3 years. Li didn't understand what it meant that Lu Xun could be sent to prison, but he only answered her that she was still young and was not worth cultivators. She will still have the opportunity to become stronger. Li had the face of a child but the form of a grown woman. Lu Xun was worried that if they went out into the city, people would say that she was a junior high student. Then he will definitely be imprisoned. The girl objected that she was actually not small, as Lu Xun thought she was quite old. A shadow flashed behind the door. It's so easy to sneak in that Li didn't even notice it. If this is an enemy, then she probably won't be able to cope with him. This was Murong Yan. The level is unknown. There seems to be no malicious intent. Lu Xun became alarmed, threateningly asking what the woman forgot here, but as it turned out, she simply mixed up the rooms. Murong Yan was surprised. The guy who opened the door struck her with something so much that she didn't have enough determination. Although Murong Yan left calmly, Lu Xun was sure that she had not just gone to the wrong room. He was surprised that the woman knocked, because someone who was at the wrong door would not have done that. Murong Yan probably definitely had some kind of motive. Murong Yan glanced at Li before leaving, and the girl decided that she should not have taken off the veil. The wedding dress sword, yellow, distracts the attention of low-level masters. The Tianquan world is a place dominated by cultivators. Of course, murder, treasure theft, the struggle between good and evil, all this is an integral part of the world of cultivators. This happens everywhere, but it's actually not that bad. Many cultivators are conscientious, help other people, and contribute in every possible way to reconciliation. The cultivators in this world have the power of celestials, and they are willing to sacrifice their lives for the sake of ordinary people. Noble people are willing to fight injustice and guide others on the right path. Lu Xun felt comfortable in this world, thanks to the trick. Masters whose level is lower than Murong Yan will not be able to understand that this is a magic weapon. Accordingly, they will have no intention of stealing it. The girl didn't understand what Lu Xun was thinking about now, so she grabbed his hand and dragged him to the pawnshop. He promised her. Protecting the weak is the main goal of cultivators in the Tianquan world. But since Murong Yan appeared here, then one of the good initial quests for the world of Tianquan is also located here. The guy just needs to wait for the opportunity, and then he will be able to adjust this world to suit himself. After going to the pawnshop, Li was in 7th heaven, because she had so much money that she could forget about hunger. In honor of this, she decided to invite Lu Xun to eat, allowing him to eat whatever he wanted without embarrassment. Later she added that the guy could eat 1 silver coin, to which Lu Xun noted that she is very generous. As they walked, Lu Xun asked if the girl had noticed anything strange, but Li didn't understand what exactly the guy was talking about. The guy asked if the woman who came to them seemed strange to her. Li wanted to tell him about this but forgot. However, the girl did not understand what exactly was suspicious about that woman. Lu Xun noted that Li's breasts had grown, but her brain seemed to have not. The girl was shocked when Lu Xun told her that the woman was a cultivator. The guy almost went deaf from her surprised scream. Li asked how the guy knew this, to which Lu Xun pointed his finger at her sword, asking if she noticed something. Li hesitated, not sure whether she had noticed something or not. It was a trick for ordinary people. In their eyes, it is an unremarkable weapon. The girl decided that if she asked that woman to be her student, then no one would dare to offend her and she would be able to avenge her parents. Li thought the guy was very cool because he could notice any little thing, but it didn't matter. The only thing that matters is whether the master chooses the girl or not. A man's voice was heard outside the window. He said not to leave the house on the 15th day of the first lunar month, then the gates of hell will open. You cannot ask about either life or death. As it turned out, today was the festival of hungry ghosts. This meant that Li's mom and dad could be reincarnated. because goodness is rewarded and good people receive goodness in return. The guy didn't know for sure, but goodness is sure to be rewarded. At least his sister got her insurance money, and when she graduates, she won't want for anything. Lu Xun heard the girl calling him. Turning away from the window, he saw that her sword was shining red. Magic weapons vibrate, spirits rage. This is a warning, danger is coming, this was their chance. Lu Xun pulled the girl by the hand, inviting her to take a walk outside. It was very beautiful there now, and they should not miss this opportunity. Li asked what was so beautiful there, to which Lu Xun, with an evil smile, replied that there would be a lot of devilry there tonight. The spirits of the Tianshuan world are different from the spirits in the real world. They are born from many grievances, not just one. The Tianshuan Hungry Ghost Festival is a spirit-slaying competition. The more spirits you kill, the more experience you get. Therefore, a person who has extensive experience in killing spirits feels like a fish in water. Lu Xun invited Li to go there together. They needed to take advantage of the opportunity today. They would have to go even if they didn't feel like it. Before leaving, Lu Xun had to make sure that she was there, and his premonition did not let him down. All you need is for Murong Yan to appear, and then she will appear. This was the coolest initial quest, they couldn't make mistakes. Having come to her senses, Li was terrified. She didn't understand where Lu Xun was dragging her, but the guy explained to her that they were going to the cultivator to ask to become apprentices. Finding a cultivator and becoming his apprentice was the only chance for the girl. She had to cheer up and never allow herself to chicken out again. Walking further down the street, they saw a woman. Li noted that she deserved the title of cultivator. When the spirits are so rampant, she simply sits and guards the gate to protect the common people. Relaxedly clicking the seeds, the woman turned to the approaching couple, asking what they needed here. Suddenly, a young girl suddenly appeared. She had fun jumping from one spirit to another. The girl's attention was attracted by Lu Xun. His body literally glowed with a golden glow. The girl didn't understand where he came from here. Suddenly, the girl became angry with the spirits. She took out her dagger, threatening to cut them all into pieces. Lu Xun looked at the dying spirits with longing. So much experience, and not all of it. Lu Xun was surprised how many ghosts this girl destroyed with one blade. He had not seen this even at level 30. This girl must have started at level 40. The girl noticed how long Lu Xun had been looking at her and angrily walked towards him. The girl admitted that she had been looking for a beautiful horse for a long time and invited the guy to become one. So-called demons who possess enlightened spiritual wisdom, the same as they said in fairy tales. Accidentally releasing their spiritual wisdom, they absorbed the powers of the sun and moon to perfect their body and spirit. The energy of the sun and moon was not very well mastered, and therefore we had to get up at dawn. Their practices are much more complex, and the time they spend on improvement is much longer. It takes tens, hundreds of years to achieve results. For such a long time, they constantly became better, and finally became a support for the gods. Lu Xun was very surprised at the offer to become a riding horse. He considered it such a rarity to use a person as a mount, and in general it was wrong, because someone pays in full, and someone practically nothing. The girl suggested that it was a great honor for Lu Xun to carry Mao Nunbei. Mao Nunbei was a great monster. People remember the image of a girl with cat ears. Countless sand sculptures ran after her. Even if someone wants to carry her, it will definitely not be Lu Xun. Murong Yan asked if this was against the rules. The girl replied that there are so many rules that one can be broken. Murong Yan warned her. She can say anything, but she must not let the elders hear it. The girl noted that she had no one to fear there, and in general these were the words of the second elder sister, so all the consequences would fall on her. Nonanbei asked what Lu Xun thought about her proposal. She is ready to give him whatever he wants, be it a weapon or a panacea that has no drawbacks. Li was afraid that Lu Xun would agree to the proposal. A sly smile appeared on the guy's face. She could charm anyone. This meant that an idea had appeared in his head. All the girls were delighted with his charming smile. They did not understand how such a beautiful person could even exist in the area. Lu Xun asked if Mao Nunbei was strong, to which the girl replied that, of course. She came here to get rid of the Ghost King. He just recently saw 100 of them and she destroyed them all. Lu Xun asked if her people were so powerful. Mao Nunbei again assured that this was the case. Then the guy wanted to see for himself. It was just a great opportunity to join her family. Mao Nunbei got angry. She didn't like being asked a lot of questions, but looking at Lu Xun's beautiful face again, she immediately cooled down. Now it was Li's turn. She needed to quickly engage in conversation for them to accept her as a student. But Li got scared and hesitated, and therefore Lu Xun had to do everything himself. Fortunately, he had bargained a lot before, so everything should have gone well. Lu Xun began to tell Li Li's amazing story, about her incredible tragic experience, about her story that shocked the world, about her parents, and the path of revenge that she chose. The story was so sad that tears flowed from my eyes. Even Li Li herself thought about how tragic her story was. Lu Xun interrupted her, urging her to be more serious. He forced the girl to bow so that she could be taken as a disciple. But instead of bowing to Li, Li turned to Mao Nanbei. The lady eliminated the ghosts of the past in order to make her way to heaven, was able to use a disguise for her dress. Li Li believed that all of these people must be members of the righteous immortal clan. Ji Li would like to invite them to go through the fairy gate. Lu Xun praised Li Li. In such a short time she learned to answer. But then he thought about the words that she said and fell a little into a stupor. Mao Nanbei laughed joyfully. Her old lady was from the Demon Village clan. Li Li was shocked. Mozong is a name full of danger, but she helped her so much it's not like her at all. Li Li wondered what she should do. The girl looked at Lu Xun. He nodded approvingly in response, which meant she could still act. The girl bowed down to the ground, declaring that Ji Li was paying her respects to them. Mao Nanbei was surprised. Let the girl just try to renege on her words in the future. Ultimately, she made the decision to consider improving her skills. Murong Yan asked Mrs. Ji Li to stand up. The girl didn't need to worry about anything. Husband Yan simply examined her. Murong Yan pointed her finger at Ji Li's forehead and circles began to appear from there. 1, 2, 3. Mao Nanbei counted as many as 8 circles. This was only 1 lap less than Mao Nanbei itself. The girl could have been turned into a real jade. Lu Xun decided that this little girl was clearly not telling her something. 8 circles is a real talent. It was reported that Ji Li had passed, and even though she did it easily now, she will have to work very hard in the future. It was Lu Xun's turn. Mao Nanbei was wondering if the girl had 8 circles, how many would he have? Murong Yan also placed her finger on the guy's forehead. He seemed calm and not nervous at all. But what a surprise everyone was when only 1 circle appeared. Lu Xun spent everything on charm and turned out to be just a dummy with potential. 1. Murong Yan ordered the couple to buy some supplies and then they would return to Zongmen. Ji Li assured the guy that she would train very well and he, with a smile on his face, replied that he really hoped so. The girl still didn't know what the demon clan's village looked like from the inside, but if he was hunted and bullied, she would train hard. There are countless clans in the Tianshan continent, of which 4 major families lead the right path: Wang Jianshan, Chuan Shanyu, Qin Tianzong, and Luo Tianzong. The 4 clans can act either alone or in pairs. The first 2 seem to disagree, while the other 2's relationship is extremely cordial. Wang Jianshan believes that 9 swords converge to 1. It is necessary to master the art of fencing using 9 swords. Yi Chuanshan says that 1 sword bypasses all laws. You need to use 1 sword all your life. In fact, they both come from the same family, but because they had different views on cultivation, they became divided. As for Qing Tianzong and Lo Xianzong, these 2 just love to mess with each other. They have nothing in common. Finally, let's move on to the demons who lead the 3 magic gates: Mozong, Wu Zishan, and Chun Chulin. They were very straightforward. After the shopping was completed, the company was able to hit the road. Their bag of groceries was simply huge. Ji Li was worried about how they would carry so much luggage. Murong Yan showed the girl a beautiful green ring on her finger. A golden glow began to emanate from it, and now the backpack was not even visible. Ji Li called it a storage ring. It's not even a backpack that can be expanded for money. Murong Yan grabbed her sword, Edgeworth calling the others on their way. Lu Xun asked what kind of sword could withstand such a large body. Ji Li was also curious about what Edgeworth looked like. Imagine their disappointment when the woman took it out, and they saw that the sword looked more like a small dagger. Despite the small size of the sword, Murong Yan easily climbed onto it and began to float in the air. Mao Nanbei also took out a small magical object, and a huge crane appeared from it. She said that Ji Li and her horse would ride with her. The crane was so big that they had to take a stepladder to climb onto it. Lu Xun barely managed to climb onto the crane before it flew into the air. Ji Li was worried about whether Murong Yan's sword was breaking, but Mao Nanbei assured her that practitioners simply could not judge this matter with common sense. The flying sword is called a feather and contains good intentions. She handed the girl a scroll. This was the demon clan's introductory exercise that Ji Li was capable of learning. But Lu Xun could not do this. Before he became Mao Nanbei's horse, he had nothing to do with the clan. Lu Xun became sad. He wondered even if he couldn't study it, if he could at least touch Xianjia Kung Fu. Lu Xun again used his amazing charm, and Mao Nanbei simply could not refuse his request. This was just another of Lu Xun's cunning plans. He knew that even though it was called Mountain Bay, there were a kind of old inbi. Touching the scroll, Lu Xun saw a sign that said, "Once a practice method is confirmed, it cannot be changed." He agreed, thereby studying the nutrition of Jijue. It was a great feeling, but Lu Xun felt sorry that he couldn't choose any exercises for a perfect start. Mountain Bay noted that if Lu Xun agreed to become her steed, she would make his life much easier. But the guy has so far refused this offer. Mountain Bay said that becoming her mount is a direct path to getting into her office in the most sacred place of the demon clan. Even disciples and elders are not allowed to enter there. Ji Li asked if Lu Xun was really going to the demon clan for the sake of studying, but of course his main goal was that same office. There are only 3 places on the Tianqian continent that are impossible to reach. The office in the demon clan is one of them. Getting inside the office is just the beginning. The real difficulty was that millions tried to become the master's disciples, but only one was accepted. And this guy died because of a diseased liver. Lu Xun was shocked when he heard the news, but he never thought that he would find himself in a similar situation. Since Lu Xun wanted to become a disciple of the demon clan, he must follow the rules and not act thoughtlessly. First, do not become her mistress's disciple, Murongyan informed him. Honanbei was surprised by this statement. She just doesn't remember some of the rules. Is this really such a big problem? Murongyan continued to list the rules, but Lu Xun listened to her with half an ear. He thought that Mo Zong really followed all the rules that the owner of the office issued. In the end, Murongyan interrupted the woman, saying that the rules were over and they needed to talk about more important things. The demon clan is divided into 3 territories: the outer gate, the inner gate, and the office. And Zili should be at the outer gate. Murongyan is a disciple of the inner gate, and Mountain Bay herself is a student of the master teacher himself. Even her horse belongs to the inner gate. Lu Xun believed that Mountain Bay's intentions were obvious, but Ji Li was more interested in whether they should also study in the clan. Mountain Bay replied that it wasn't that he was a teacher, he just liked being called that. Ordinary disciples are unable to listen to his teachings. Listening to Mountain Bay's chatter, Lu Xun decided that this monster could no longer be saved. By the way, no one really knows how strong this teacher is. Someone once said, "If this gentleman is not the main boss, the management live broadcast will turn upside down. Take it out after you finish eating and eat it after you finish." This seems to be his style, except those who cheat for food and drink. Murongyan reported that they had arrived, but Ji Li didn't understand where the demon clan's village was. She didn't see anything. Mountain Bay replied that of course she would not see anything. If she had seen, she would already be dead. Mountain Bay again took out the magic origami and the crane began to descend down to the water, where a funnel appeared. Murongyan reminded the girl to give the guy something because her token would only let her through. But of course, Mountain Bay already knew this. The girl took out something that looked like a kitten's paw and said that the formation was laid by her teacher. The crane began to be pulled into the funnel, and Mountain Bay was surprised at how calm Lu Xun was. She suggested that he would still want to become her mount, to which the guy replied that he would think about it. Lu Xun understood that his strength was not enough. He spent everything on his appearance. All the women would crave his body, so he needed to start training quickly. Otherwise, sooner or later, he would turn into a sex slave. And he won't stand it. They saw a large flying rock with a house on it, a waterfall, and a huge crystal. Ji Li couldn't believe that this was really a demon clan village. Lu Xun was here for the first time. He couldn't believe his eyes. He expected to see the sea of blood that everyone was talking about. Maonan Bei said that the rules do not matter, but you need to understand one thing. Traveling through heaven and earth is worthy of your own heart. This is what the teacher taught her. Ji Li noted that this was very thoughtful. Lu Xun continued to look at the beautiful and sunny landscape. Is this really the village of the demon clan? He didn't understand anything. Ji Li pointed towards the strange mountain. On one of the floating islands there was a rock with a large square stone on top. Lu Xun also noted that this was strange. The other mountains looked like swords, but for some reason this one resembled a scabbard. Murongyan noticed the guy's surprised look and replied that this mountain has an interesting origin. Lu Xun asked how unusual this was, and Ji Li asked the woman to share this amazing story. Murongyan said that the origin of this mountain is extremely great because it is not small, and not small because it is great. Unable to bear it, Maonan Bei hit the woman on the head with all her might, declaring that she was talking some kind of nonsense. The girl stated that this was the last time she listened to this nonsense. She didn't know the origin of the mountain, but it was the new Jiaying Peak. Jili was surprised that the elders could actually make up such things. Murong-yan just giggled cheerfully at this. Approaching the house on the island, the company noticed a group of men who joyfully greeted those approaching and congratulated the young master on his return. Flying up, Jili and Mao Nanbei easily jumped from the crane to the ground, while Lu Xun again had to use the stepladder to descend, from which he eventually fell. Mao Nanbei ordered one of the men to call Elder Chu Shui and report that she had brought new people. A few moments later, a beautiful woman appeared behind them. This was Elder Mozong Chu Shui. The woman asked where the new girls were that they told her about. Looking at Lu Xun, the woman took her breath away from how handsome the guy was. The elder immediately approached the guy, asking if he was the same new student whom the young master brought. Mao Nanbei immediately appeared between them, covering Lu Xun with herself, and asked the elder what she was going to do with her horse. Elder Chu Shui was surprised. Jumping man. She couldn't help but notice that the young master turned out to be not bad at all. Everyone forgot about the real student, so Murong-yan pushed the girl forward, attracting the attention of the others. He didn't forget to mention that Ji Li has 8 circles. Hearing this, the elder immediately jumped up to the girl, apologizing for not paying attention to her right away. She introduced herself and said that Ji Li could contact her with any questions and worship her just like the teacher. However, the elder could not help but pay attention to the guy who was literally glowing with charm. She wondered how many laps he had. Mao Nanbei showed only one finger in response, but everyone decided that this meant 10 circles, which they were incredibly surprised by. They considered it incredible, a real talent, and called Lu Xun the immortal who came to this world. But Mao Nanbei shattered all their crystal dreams by telling them that the guy only had 1 circle. Hearing this, the men immediately lost any interest in Lu Xun, and the elder noted that this was a great loss. Lu Xun asked if he passed the test. Would he be able to join the clan? Mao Nanbei replied that he could, but she did not understand why he chose to be a student rather than her riding horse. Lu Xun assured the girl that he was just interested, but he had one more question. Could he become the master's disciple? Everyone was surprised by his question. They decided that the guy was making fun of him. Apparently he had nothing but a pretty face. Wouldn't the teacher send him then? Mao Nanbei decided that the only one he could become was her favorite horse. The master accepts disciples for various reasons. He accepted Mao Nanbei because she loves cats, and he wanted to have a cat demon among his students. And this reason is very simple. Mao Nanbei asked if he wanted to know more, and the guy immediately agreed. He had studied discipleship strategies in his previous life, and as long as the conditions remained the same, he would not fail. If Lu Xun wants to become a disciple, he must meet 3 conditions. First, he must be a mortal who has not undergone cultivation. Secondly, he should be no more than 30. It seemed that Lu Xun met both conditions, but there was a third thing. I had to jump from here and survive. Everyone around was very surprised by the third condition. Even those who are engaged in cultivation will die if they jump from there. Without magical tools, even the elders would die, because there were 180,000 miles. Before Lu Xun, worshipping the small Hushan cabinet, everything went exactly as he had planned. Of course, Lu Xun understood that becoming a master's disciple was not easy. Therefore, he resolutely headed towards the edge of the island. The frightened girls immediately began to dissuade him. Ji Li asked the guy not to act so frivolously, and Mao Nanbei noticed that being her steed was also not bad. At least the seniority is at the same level as Chu Shui. But Lu Xun did not listen to them. He just smiled, saluting them goodbye. As soon as the guy approached the edge, everyone immediately rushed to stop him. Mao Nanbei vehemently asked Lu Xun to stop, at least for her sake. At some point, everyone realized that they could not move. Some even fell, unable to stay on their feet. Lu Xun jumped gracefully and, having done a beautiful somersault, rushed down head over heels. Everyone was shocked. Ji Li could not hold back her tears, and Mao Nanbei did not believe that the guy would rather die than be her riding horse. The girl did not understand why some force stopped her when the guy jumped off. She wanted to see only living people while she lived, and corpses only after her death. She couldn't let him die, so she jumped after him, and she had to understand what kind of power it was. Elder Chu Shui was surprised when she noticed that all the peak lords had rushed here. This brat caused quite a stir. But the master was not in the mountains, and his actions were still in vain. Elder Chu Shui was very sorry that such a handsome man died in vain. Mao Nanbei was frightened and involuntarily twitched when 2 strong men appeared behind her. She realized that Shen Yan was again behind his retinue. A moment later, a man who looked more like a little boy appeared from behind the men. Due to fire practices, there was no hair on his body. Shen Yan asked the young master if this guy was the one who jumped from Jieying Peak. Mao Nanbei suggested that the guy was attracted by the power that appeared during the fall of Lu Sun, to which Shen Yan nodded in the affirmative. Mao Nanbei asked if he could see her source, but even with his capabilities, Shen Yan saw nothing. Mao Nanbei was afraid that Lu Shun was hiding some kind of identity and she was running into trouble. As she got closer, Mao Nanbei realized that the guy was still alive. HP 1 out of 100, number of resurrections 2 out of 3. Mao Nanbei was very surprised that the guy was still alive. Shen Yan did not understand why Lu Shun did this when the master left. He wasn't here and they couldn't make decisions for him. But they could gather Lu Shun back. Mao Nanbei suggested listening to the second eldest sister. She probably should have already known about everything. Suddenly a voice came out of nowhere, scaring everyone around. The voice reported that the gentleman said, "Maybe." Seeing the sign that the special task of worshipping the small cabinet of Hushan had been completed, Lu Shun squeezed out a satisfied smile. The girl was walking up the stairs at the back of Mozong's forbidden territory. She thought that Liu Xin was probably feeling much better today. The girl couldn't wait to meet him. Approaching the lake, she noticed a woman sitting on a stone. "She's here again." The girl bowed politely to the woman. "This is the master's second disciple. The young master's second elder sister is very strange. She meditates when the girl leaves and comes. Master Mao Shu said that she did not like to be disturbed. I even wonder when she will stop meditating." Having risen to the right place, the girl met her master, Mao Nanbei, who was sleeping peacefully on the table. Hearing the girl's arrival, Mao Nanbei immediately woke up, ordering her to follow her. The girl meekly agreed, calling Mao Nanbei a young master. Mao Nanbei immediately became angry. She didn't like being called little and would immediately become grouchy. Ji Li went to the unconscious Lu Shun's room. Master Shen's elixir is truly magical. The guy quickly recovered, but never came to his senses. Once Lu Shun recovered, Ji Li would not be able to return to the mountain. She won't be able to see the guy for a year or so. Lu Shun was the only one in the whole world whom she knew. Now he has become a real legend. A lot of students were chatting about the guy. I took advantage of this opportunity. He jumped off the cliff without even raising an eyebrow. It was so courageous. Mao Nanbei was stretching sleepily when the shadow of an unexpectedly approaching guy fell on her. Mao Nanbei asked how he got here, to which Shen Yan replied that he just wanted to see how their youngster recovered from his injury. The girl asked if she could leave, and Shen Yan replied that he would stay here, and Mao Nanbei could rest for now. Mao Nanbei immediately took off, shouting that she was leaving everything here to Shen Yan, and disappeared into the distance. Shen Yan was only happy about this. Now no one will bother him. Ji Li couldn't stop admiring the guy. He had such beautiful lips. She wondered what they tasted like. The girl was distracted from her indecent thoughts by a loud knock on the door, causing Ji Li to get scared and jump on the spot. To the girl's surprise, Shen Yan appeared on the threshold. When Ji Li asked what he was doing here, the guy replied that he had come to check on the wounded man. For the sake of this little thing, he sacrificed a rare panacea that he had treasured for many years. The legendary tablet of flesh and white bones. He couldn't handle losing her. Now that Shen Yan had reached the guy, he had to return something of his own. Shen Yan walked to the wounded man's bed, stretching out his little hands to Lu Shun. Ji Li didn't understand what this creepy guy wanted to do with the guy. Perhaps it's all about the elixir and Shen Yan wants to attack Lu Sun. Touching the wounded man, Shen Yan turned to the girl, who immediately jumped up in surprise. She literally froze in horror, hoping that he wouldn't do anything strange. With a beaming smile on her face, Shen Yan told Ji Li that she was very talented, and absolutely all roads in the future were open to her. He handed her a tiny red stone. Her physique was ideal for practicing with fire, so it would be useful for the girl. The girl did not understand why he suddenly gave her this stone, and Shen Yan, without saying anything else, turned around to leave. He was angry that the girl did not ask any questions. Did she really have nothing to say? He needed her to ask him about it urgently. Ji Li asked the self-confident lord why he gave it to her, and he was very happy that the question had finally come. He only replied that this place values talent, and saying goodbye disappeared out the door. After thinking a little, the girl decided that in fact Shen Yan was not so scary. Shen Yan was confident that now Ji Li would definitely choose him as her teacher. He was the most greedy master who had almost no resources for his students. No wonder no one chose him. Shen Yan noted that after all, talented students had not come to them for a long time. He didn't understand why he didn't have any students, but this time he definitely wouldn't miss his chance. Meanwhile, 15 minutes ago, Mao Nanbei, who had finally received a rest, was hurrying at full speed to her second older sister. She was in such a hurry that she even turned into a cat to get there faster. Monanbei wanted to sneak up on the woman, but second senior sister Gu Xiaoman noticed her, grabbing the cat and placing her on her lap. Monanbei told her sister that she had many interesting stories from the mountain, and the most interesting thing was that that guy was originally her horse. Instead of the expected admiration, the girl received only a slap on the forehead from her sister. Monanbei said that she just wanted to see the guy's handsome body, for which she was again hit on the forehead so hard that she had a lump. She stated that she would no longer speak to her sister. The sister did not pay any attention to this. Then Monanbei began to rub herself against her sleeve, asking her not to be angry with her. There are so many more interesting things outside the mountain, and the girl wanted to tell it all. Jili couldn't stop admiring the guy. Of course, he was always handsome. Suddenly, she heard Lu Xun quietly wheeze as he asked for water. Jili went to fulfill his request, but Monanbei flew up faster, putting a teapot of water to his mouth and allowing him to drink as much as he wanted. Jili was shocked. It turns out that all this time Monanbei was only pretending to be asleep. Having drunk enough, Lu Xun stood up, sitting on the bed. He asked how long he had been asleep. He thought that he would be resurrected on the spot, but he did not expect that he would be left with just a drop of life. It's just some kind of curse. Lu Xun only slept for 3 or 4 days, and Monanbei was shocked that he recovered so quickly. However, she was sorry that the guy's build was not suitable to be her mount. Lu Xun didn't understand how he came to his senses so quickly. It seemed to him that something had happened to his blood. Jili replied that it was all the Sovereign Lord. He was so kind. Lu Xun immediately jumped to his feet. He had to thank Shenyan for his help. The guy began to test the performance of his body, squatting and jumping, but Jili warned the guy not to move so often, otherwise he might break something else. Monanbei interrupted the guy because there was another problem. She wondered how a mortal could hold his breath and not die. Smiling charmingly, Lu Xun replied that it was a secret. The girls couldn't accuse him of lying because his face made them believe him. Monanbei warned the guy not to try to fool her, and he admitted that it was all thanks to the family heirloom. He wondered if the resurrection system could be called a family heirloom. Monanbei decided that this did not sound very true, and Jili found this surprising, and decided that Lu Xun had a very rich family. It was all such a confusion, but there was indeed a masterless treasure hidden within the demon clan. A huge treasure. Once Lu Xun increases his level, he will achieve his goal. Monanbei asked if Lu Xun had forgotten anything. He didn't understand what she was talking about, but it turned out that he still hadn't called the girl his big sister. Jili laughed at this, but Lu Xun told her that she should now call him Uncle Master. Blushing with embarrassment, Jili still called Lu Xun Uncle Master. Following the girl's example, Lu Xun also bowed, calling Monanbei elder sister. It seemed to Monanbei that the guy believed in himself too much. She promised that she would bite him for this, but Lu Xun didn't believe her much. Embarrassed, Monanbei decided to change the subject, saying that the second elder sister wanted to see the guy, so he should get ready and follow her. Lu Xun noted that to be beautiful is to be able to do whatever you want. Monanbei led the guy to the place where the second elder sister was meditating. Lu Xun bowed and greeted his sister. He heard about her. Gu Xiaoman's second eldest sister. No one has ever seen her. Lu Xun had no idea how people knew everything about her, but he felt a sense of helplessness and was speechless when he appeared in front of the woman. Without saying a word, the second eldest sister threw some object to the guy, which he immediately deftly caught. It turned out to be a book. The guy thought she was fatter than she should have been. This seems to be a real treasure for beginners, but she was useless to him. Lu Xun bowed, thanking second senior sister for the greeting. He wondered why the young master didn't give him anything. Lu Xun looked at Monanbei, making the girl feel embarrassed. She couldn't understand why there was so much in his eyes. This drove her crazy. Monanbei handed the guy his welcome gift, a small green ring. Lu Xun received a storage ring and plus 30 inventory spaces. Monanbei noted that he could not help but like the gift, since his sister chose it especially for him. This gift is worth several thousand gold. The guy couldn't help but like him. Monanbei was shocked that Lu Xun actually liked her gift. Without saying a word, second senior sister just waved her hand. This meant that they had to return. It seemed that second elder sister was a woman of few words. Even Lu Xun didn't know much about her. Jili walked happily along the path, catching fireflies flying around. Lu Xun asked the girl why she was so happy. Having released the firefly that had caught it earlier, the girl replied that it was because he had woken up. Lu Xun couldn't believe that the girl was really so happy because of him. He asked Jili to come to him. The girl did not understand what the guy wanted to do but fulfilled his request. Lu Xun simply poked his finger at her forehead playfully. Jili asked why he was playing with her. Lu Xun, with a satisfied smile, replied that Uncle Master can play as much as he wants. Mao Nanbei put her hand out to the side, slamming the guy into the stone wall. She noted that the older sister could also play with him. The strong blow caused a large bump to appear on Lu Xun's forehead, which made Ji Li very happy. Already approaching the gate, Ji Li realized that previously she could only enter the office when Lu Xun was unconscious, but now he is healthy. Why did she come back? Lu Xun asked the fourth elder sister if he could lend Ji Li a gifted book for studying. Mao Nanbei replied that he could do whatever he wanted. Ji Li was shocked that they wanted her to stay with Lu Xun. Leaning towards her ear, Lu Xun asked the girl to come with him. Entering the house, the guy handed Ji Li a book, claiming that it contained a lot of useful materials for her. The girl was a little embarrassed to accept such a gift. This was a book only for Lu Xun, and besides, it is such an important thing. The guy replied that this was his gratitude for his concern. And besides, he had already read it. Ji Li was surprised. She didn't understand when the guy managed to read it, but he did it the moment he took her in his hands. Ji Li didn't believe it was true. Lu Xun said that she could open any page and make sure that he remembered it. The girl agreed, but Lu Xun interrupted her. He wanted to complicate the task, so he asked the girl to ask him not the original text, but the commentary of the second elder sister. Ji Li asked the third comment on the second page. Lu Xun immediately replied that it was not to be rushed, take it step by step. 7th on page 15. Carefully monitor your breathing, don't forget about it. The first one is on page 37. Don't be greedy when absorbing spiritual energy. Ji Li was shocked that he actually remembered everything. As soon as Lu Xun touched the book, the system automatically saved all the text. Great skill. Ji Li noted that the guy is so strong and attentive to her, and also so handsome. The guy sat down on the floor, pointing to the bed. He invited the girl to sleep on the bed. He was fine here too. Confused, Ji Li noted that 2 people could sleep on this bed. Lu Xun knew this, but he wanted to practice. Mao Nanbei, who overheard their conversation, was surprised. She believed that people needed to be warm all the time. She decided that this guy had a herring instead of brains. Ji Li lay down on the bed, noting that Lu Xun was so strong and hardworking, and she couldn't give up either. But after a while, she was happily snoring, drooling on the book. Although Lu Xun could use the system, he had long wanted to try real cultivation. Cultivation in novels is quite interesting. There was even a double cultivation created. Their goal is to get double pleasure. Lu Xun began. He wanted to be allowed to experience all the sensations of cultivation. Lu Xun didn't expect that cultivation was so painful. He didn't understand who even said that cultivation was cool. He didn't understand what was happening. It felt like thousands of needles were piercing his body. Nothing worked for him. Manonabe realized that he was training, but cultivation is quite difficult. He cannot do it alone. Practice is very important, but Lu Xun didn't understand why it was so difficult. The guy decided that he was unhappy, which is why the practice was so difficult for him. He couldn't believe he was doing this because it was mortally painful. Waking up in the morning, Ji Li was shocked to see that the guy had been training all night. It was so painful. Lu Xun didn't understand why the girl would give him virtue when he was bleeding. Ma Nanbei didn't understand how this kid was still holding on. And the second older sister decided that this boy was amazing. Lu Xun felt as if there were 100 doctors around him who wanted to drive needles into him. It hurts so much that nothing compares to it. Ji Li will only understand what it is like when he starts practicing. Ji Li was not afraid of this pain. After all, there was nothing more painful for her than the loss of her parents. The girl decided that she would train hard, but she won't be able to come here anymore because of the practice. Ji Li says goodbye to Lu Xun. She felt sad because they were separating and she didn't know for how long. But Lu Xun reassured her. Although the girl could not climb the mountain, he could always see her. After all, in this world, Ji Li was his only friend. In parting, Lu Xun asked the girl to take care of herself. He will take care of himself. After all, everything is just beginning. He wondered if luck would smile on him, and if he would be able to meet his little sister who played Tianchen. Lu Xun needed to improve his level. Even if there was no way to return, he could not allow himself to be bullied. Yesterday's experience before training gave him 666 points, but after training only 20. But Lu Xun was happy with everything. He agreed to the update. At this point, he simply had no choice. Lu Xun was so hungry. He needed to find food before he got up. Suddenly, Shenyan suddenly appeared. He congratulated Lu Xun on starting the practice and noted that this was a real blessing for the demon clan. Their students were so talented and smart. Lu Xun greeted the master but wondered why he was here. Want to charge for treatment? This bald one was known as the Iron Rooster. There is not a single hair on his body. Mo Nanbei jumped up abruptly. grabbing the fish in her teeth and another fish and bird in each hand. Lu Xun was surprised at how fast she was. You couldn't expect anything else from your sister. Lu Xun was delighted. He thought Mao Nanbei was amazing. She was such a great hunter. They approached the building. Mao Nanbei said that this is the kitchen of the third elder brother and that he always treats her. Mao Nanbei threatened that if Lu Xun made the food tasteless, then he could eat it himself and not even call the girl. Sensing the delicious aromas, Mao Nanbei immediately jumped up and rushed to the kitchen. Lu Xun was puzzled by the appearance of the fourth elder sister. But Mao Nanbei couldn't wait any longer. She wanted to eat. Lu Xun noted that it would actually be worth sharing with second elder sister. Grabbing the food, Mao Nanbei noted that the guy was right. It's really worth sharing with your second big sister. Second eldest sister was meditating as always, but she was distracted by the pleasant aroma of food. Mao Nanbei assured the woman that she must try her brother's creation. She wondered how to divide the 2 fish and the chicken. In the end, Mao Nanbei handed the second eldest sister rice, fish, and a chicken leg. Lu Xun wondered if a person like second elder sister even needed to eat. But the woman actually began to eat the food offered to her. Mao Nanbei was so hungry that she didn't even think of sharing the one remaining fish with Lu Xun. Fireworks around the world calm people's hearts. Mao Nanbei ate so much that she couldn't even look at the food. But unfortunately, Lu Xun didn't get anything at all. On the way back, Lu Xun asked the young master when the master would return. How could Mao Nanbei know about this? But Lu Xun did not understand why the gentleman came down from the mountain in the first place. Most likely there was something important, some kind of battle or something like that. Mao Nanbei didn't understand why she should do such a boring thing. Going down the mountain is fun in itself. If it weren't for Lu Xun, Mao Nanbei would have run away from the mountain herself. Lu Xun didn't understand what was wrong here. He believed that it was the duty of the demon sect members to harm the world and bully everyone. And they really came down the mountain for fun. A gaming forum opened, but there was nothing like that there. The forum is open, but there is still a lot of time before the beta test, so Lu Xun decided that there was no point in joining now. Although in just a minute, 3 subscribers appeared on the forum. Lu Xun wondered if the transience of time was different in the worlds. Lu Xun hoped that tomorrow's ceremony would be successful. Players will be simply fascinated. With this Jijue food, Lu Xun could save 20 years of his life. It's good that he had experience points in his account. Mao Nanbei suddenly burst into the room and ordered Lu Xun to wake up immediately and quickly follow her. Lu Xun didn't understand what was happening. Mao Nanbei grabbed the guy by the hand and pulled him along, answering that today was his entrance ceremony. So many people came. Lu Xun would like Mao Nanbei to say at least a few nice words to him, but the girl believed that it did not matter. Lu Xun replied that she could go, but he still needed to change clothes. Lu Xun was now the master's disciple, and he needed to change into Mozong's clothes. Mao Nanbei said that he can change clothes right here. She promises not to peek. Lu Xun grabbed Mao Nanbei by the scruff of the neck and simply pushed her out of the room, ordering her to wait outside and closing the doors in her face. Mao Nanbei considered the guy impudent. She didn't care about his body. Mao Nanbei wondered how brother would look in the clothes of the demon clan. He was so handsome. A few minutes later, Lu Xun appeared. He looked excellent in the black robes of the demon clan. Mao Nanbei was dismayed by Lu Xun's beauty. She shouldn't lose control, but Mao Nanbei wanted the guy to be her steed so badly. It didn't matter to her that he was her youngest. She still wanted it. Lu Xun did not understand how good he was, and thought that Mao Nanbei had feline epilepsy. Lu Xun recalled that the demon clan's uniform was a weapon. He asked the system to check this. It turned out that this was a precious robe without any attributes. Yellow level. Lu Xun was surprised that there were no attributes. Usually players always have several sets of such things, and then an ordinary chicken turns into a fashionable chick. Lu Xun noticed that the fourth elder sister came back covered in scratches. He asked what happened. Mao Nanbei replied that it was nothing. She just had a fight with stray cats on the road and won. The guy somehow had a hard time believing that she had gotten into a fight. Mao Nanbei did this to distract herself and calm down. The girl noted that the ceremony would begin soon, and it would be indecent to be late. Lu Xun asked if fourth senior sister would go on stage. Mao Nanbei should have been there. Mao Nanbei warned the guy not to mess with the old woman, otherwise she would cut off his head. Lu Xun could imagine the faces of the participants during this. Mao Nanbei decided that something more was needed for such a grand ceremony. Lu Xun asked her not to do anything strange. Mao Nanbei called the crane again. It was a horse. Everyone should have it. The disciples of their sect had already gathered below. When they noticed Lu Xun, they did not believe that this was their uncle's master. It was as if he had an inhuman appearance. Lu Xun was like a living fairy. He was so handsome that even his legs gave way. One of the students noted that if he had such appearance, he would have no problem finding a wife. That was incredible. Lu Xun didn't even suspect anything and didn't understand why there was so much noise downstairs. There was information that Lu Xun's reputation was growing. There was also a note at the bottom that said to be careful with too much attention from women. It could put him in danger. Mao Nanbei noted that Lu Xun needed to show himself to the students and pushed him off the crane so that he would descend on his own. Lu Xun needed to use all his cultivation skills. It would be extremely awkward if he couldn't stand on his feet. The students noticed that the uncle owner was falling. They heard that he was practicing, but how could he reach a new level in such a short time? They advised the uncle owner not to look down. Mainanbei wanted to make Liu Xun look like a fool, but she didn't take something into account. He was the best among the Tongtandes, rogue players who cannot be defeated. For Lu Xun, body control is a piece of cake, so he landed in front of the students without any problems. The system again notified that Lu Xun's reputation was growing. This time the note said to beware of male attention, because it could bring danger to the guy. The appearance of Shen Yan managed to bring the students to their senses and made them remember the proper greeting of the master. Lu Xun kept trying to find Jili in the crowd and finally noticed her waving from behind the students. Jili couldn't believe that the guy noticed her. He was a student, and now he's a master of the peak. Lu Xun was simply shining now. Lu Xun was very lucky that Mao Nanbei could not do anything to him now. Master Shen Yan asked the guy to start, but Lu Xun was going to do something else. Lu Xun launched the update, causing delight among everyone present. They did not believe that the master had already risen to the second level. Getting to the second level is incredibly difficult. The second level was even more difficult than the 10th, since it requires enlightenment. At the first level, you need to absorb qi into your body. The second step is to start creating your own energy. To reach the second level, you must not only be extremely talented, but also have a calm mind. The master didn't even appear in front of everyone. The path to improvement is very long. It is necessary to develop your mind, Lu Xun advised the assembled students. Lu Xun doubted that he could teach anyone anything, but the system reported that his reputation was now 375 out of 700. Lu Xun broke through to the second level in just 2 days. Master Shen Yan did not understand who he was and how he managed to do this. Shen Yan mused that some are short-sighted and may only see a water tank, while some will see streams and waterfalls. But those who are talented truly see differently. The qi that Master Shen Yan saw was like a river, but he was curious about what Lu Xun saw. Lu Xun remembered that it was said that the second level of qi could be seen, but for some reason he did not see anything. Lu Xun thought that maybe because he is the chosen one, his situation is different. The students were interested in what kind of qi energy Lu Xun saw. They believed that, judging by his character, he saw a large river. The disciples were sorry that the master did not reveal this. They wanted to know what was inside him. Shen Yan asked those present what they thought Lu Xun saw. Founder Gongshu Panyu, Lord of the Thunder Limit and Elder of Law Enforcement, decided that perhaps Lu Xun was silent because he could not see anything. Luo Wanqiu, the Elder of Shuyun Peak, replied to Brother Gongshuan that she thought otherwise. This uncle is a special master. She thinks he might see streams, lakes, or even rivers. Long-lived Sima Qin, the Lord of the Evergreen Peak, based on his intuition, agreed with the opinion of Brother Gongshu. Yue Heshan, the master of Yuelai Peak, wanted to suggest something, but noticing the reaction of others, he changed his mind. They made a bet. Luo Wanqiu thought that she would win today. Gongshu Panyu reminded the respected peak masters that such behavior was not encouraged, and in case of violation, they must pay 500 spirit stones. Each of the masters immediately handed over 500 spirit stones, asking his brother not to be upset. They were just placing bets. In the end, Gongshu Panyu decided that this was just a gamble that could sometimes be afforded. He joined the other masters, also wanting to argue. Lu Xun didn't understand what was happening. He had some kind of unpleasant feeling. Mao Nanbei landed next to the guy, urging him to climb the crane as they were returning. Lu Xun noted that fourth senior sister had a scary look. Lu Xun noticed that Mao Nanbei was staring at him all the way and asked what was the matter. Mao Nanbei replied that it was nothing, and only asked what kind of sea Lu Xun saw. In fact, at the moment of renewal, Lu Xun only saw endless darkness. There was absolutely nothing. The guy couldn't talk about it. Even Mao Nanbei, even though she was his little sister. He had to keep his face. Lu Xun would completely lose face if he said that he did not see any sea of qi, even though it was a bit like common sense. Mao Nanbei decided that the younger brother was not talented at all. If he doesn't want to, he doesn't have to tell her, but for this he will owe her compensation. There was nothing wrong with Lu Xun not seeing anything. No one would dare say anything to him because of this. Lu Xun didn't understand why he suddenly looked like himself in reality. No parents, no past, nothing. He pretended to be aggressive and was always showing off his actions to others. Of course, there will be no attention to someone like him. Lu Xun thought about how many people there are who are pretending. It was simply a desire to attract attention and evoke emotions. After all, he had a little sister to protect. However, there may be a possibility that his sea of qi is black. The next day, they went to the second elder sister, to whom Mao Nanbei told that Lu Xun could not see the sea of qi. Jumping from the woman's arms, fourth senior sister jumped on Lu Xun's head, causing him to become angry. He was eating, and her fur was about to fly onto his plate. Mao Nanbei had an affair with his younger brother. If Lu Xun doesn't see the sea of qi, he shouldn't be upset. Fourth elder sister will always protect him. If anyone bullies him, she will cut off his head. Lu Xun was very touched by this, and Mao Nanbei, taking advantage of the moment, stole a piece of fish from the guy. Second elder sister decided that she wanted to help Lu Xun. Lu Xun had a nightmare. He asked the stranger not to approach him. He couldn't figure out who it was. Lu Xun did not understand what was happening and who was chasing him in his dreams. Lu Xun saw a shadow nearby. It seemed strange to him, but he decided that he was simply too overextended. He already had 1827 points out of 2,000. Lu Xun needed to score more points, so he decided to go to bed. As soon as he fell asleep, a strange, incomprehensible shadow began to haunt him again. Lu Xun didn't understand why she appeared again. Lu Xun jumped out of bed, forcing himself to wake up. Lu Xun pinched himself, forcing himself to wake up. He didn't understand what was happening, whether it was just a dream or whether it was a ghost. Lu Xun needed to get some sleep, so the guy turned over and forced himself to fall asleep again. And he was in full misunderstanding. He literally was. In shock. This clapper, he wanted to sleep even harder, and he did not know what was happening. As soon as the guy fell asleep, he saw that the ghost was haunting him again. Lu Xun woke up in horror. Lu Xun couldn't believe this was happening to him. He forced himself to sleep again, but the ghost did not leave his dreams. Lu Xun is already fed up. He wanted to sleep and was already tired of running, once again falling into a dream with a strange ghost. Lu Xun thought that if this was not just a coincidence, perhaps he should just let the dream continue. Then he had only one choice. The system notified about the new task, Sword Intent. This was an additional task, a special training. Now Lu Xun understood everything. This was thanks to the efforts of second elder sister, and Lu Xun could not let her down. Lu Xun accepted the task. The ghost prepared to attack. That night, Lu Xun was killed by a very strange method, killed by a shadow 13 times. Having recovered from a difficult night, Lu Xun realized that it was only dawn. This news made him happy because he could repeat it so many times. The arrival of Mao Nanbei distracted the guy from returning to his occupation. She asked what Lu Xun was doing. Lu Xun just waved it off, answering that it was nothing like that. However, after he had to work hard at night, he felt dizzy. Suddenly, Mao Nanbei stuffed the nuts she had brought earlier into Lu Xun's mouth. The guy needed to eat, so she advised him to eat 2 at once. Mao Nanbei noted that it is healthy for a guy, so he needs to eat 2 servings a day and not show off. The nuts brought by Mao Nanbei had a very unusual taste. After them, Lu Xun felt more cheerful. He decided that he needed to cook for the girl more often. Mao Nanbei counted that Lu Xun was grabbed 36 times last night. She asked how he felt about the sword intent from the second elder sister. Lu Xun was surprised that Mao Nanbei knew this, but the girl only replied that the second elder sister is omnipotent. If the guy wants, she will take him to her. Of course, second elder sister will not listen to Mao Nanbei, but that is not that important. All she wanted to see was her little brother pleading. Lu Xun needed to discuss one matter with fourth senior sister. Lu Xun wondered if the sword intent would dissipate over time. Mao Nanbei replied that of course not, although this question was different from her ideas. Lu Xun thought this was great news. Mao Nanbei was surprised that he liked the way he was tortured. The girl decided that he was crazy. Lu Xun received a +1 sword path reward for the task. It looks like he can hold out for another 30 days. Lu Xun made his decision. Lu Xun called fourth eldest sister with him to cook for her to eat. Mao Nanbei was incredibly happy about this news. Going outside, Lu Xun asked what kind of holiday it was today. Mao Nanbei replied that today was a family day, so all the students went down the mountain. For those who have no family, the demon clan becomes home, so everyone celebrates the holiday. Tianqin practitioners are just ordinary people with a longer life expectancy. However, the beam of light is isolated from them. This is also the reason why so many people here enjoy this world full of fireworks and touches. Compared to the cold reality, it was very good here. Everyone in town was discussing Family Day. Someone's son will return, another's daughter will not come because she was promoted, and the third's daughter was accepted as a master's student. It was too late to talk about this. Jung-san took off Li-shi's underwear. The man could not restrain himself when he saw these snow-white legs. They were getting to the point. The girl asked the gentleman to continue, but how could he? It was a disgrace to writers. The host suggested that those who were interested in what happened between Li-shi and Jung-san should listen to the next chapter. The presenter asked everyone who has money to give it here, and those who didn't have them should get out. People were furious. Some said that no one would want to give him money. Others promised to give everything next time. The leader called on the sisters to come tomorrow. The presenter did not receive money again today. The gentleman should think about his behavior. The gentleman noted that for him, storytelling is just a hobby, and it doesn't matter to him whether it brings money or not. Then the man invited them to return to the mountain. The gentleman did not understand why they should return to the mountain, to which the man asked if he had no one there to visit. The gentleman wondered how handsome he was. Not everyone has 2 eyes, 2 ears, a nose, and a mouth. The man replied that if you are complacent enough, then your appearance is not important at all. Shen Yan was only chosen because he is short and bald. The gentleman noted that this was a very stupid move, at which the man playing got angry and advised him to silently watch the game. Running away, the gentleman once again confirmed that this was truly a terrible move. The man accompanying him realized that the trip to the mountains would have to be postponed until the gentleman had played enough. The gentleman again noted that this game was terrible, but he would have played a few more times. The student did not understand why the gentleman established such admission rules. The gentleman of the small office reported that on that day, at Jieyin Peak, someone casually said them. It was obvious to the man that he was lying about the 3 rules. There must be a deep meaning here. The man decided that after returning to the mountain he would need to study the students who met 3 points. He was full of interest about the office. Lu Shun asked the 4th eldest sister why the 2nd eldest sister left him so suddenly. She disappeared so suddenly. Mananbei suggested that perhaps this was because after moving to the 2nd level, Lu Shun saw very little chi energy and needed to train more. Lu Shun asked the 4th elder sister what kind of sword the 2nd elder sister used. Mananbei replied that he would find out later. Lu Shun did not understand what was wrong with Mananbei, but the girl only told the 2nd older sister that they had brought her delicious food again. Lu Shun bowed, thanking 2nd senior sister for her advice and help. Lu Shun thought that during all this time, 2nd senior sister had not said a word to him. He thought that maybe it would happen today. The guy bowed again, once again thanking the 2nd eldest sister for her help. The woman replied that she had already heard it. Lu Shun asked her to try the noodles he prepared. The 2nd eldest sister commented that the food smelled very tasty. The noodles tasted truly amazing. Lu Shun suddenly realized that 2nd senior sister was incredibly cute. Unexpectedly, the sword intent dissipated. Lu Shun did not understand what happened. Lu Shun suddenly realized that the hairpin could be 2nd elder sister's sword. Heaven and Earth Online was available only in the 60th level at the beginning, and the 2nd eldest sister was not noticed by anyone. Lu Shun thought about how strong 2nd senior sister was. An ordinary hairpin haunted him for so many nights. Lu Shun suddenly wondered what 2nd elder sister looked like with her hair down. They went down the stairs in the rock. Lu Shun asked 4th senior sister to stop as he couldn't do it anymore. Mananbei reminded Lu Shun that he himself said never to say that you can't do something. Mananbei was surprised that so little time had passed, and Lu Shun could no longer move. Mananbei took off and ran forward, announcing as she ran that she would then return to her crib. Before the girl had time to run even a couple of meters, she, without noticing, crashed into the chest of Shen Yan, who had suddenly appeared. He greeted the masters. Mananbei threatened that if this bald head blocked her path again, she would bite him. In the end, Mananbei decided that it didn't matter and she would still bite Shen Yan next time. Tired, Lu Shun asked what he could do for the Sovereign Lord. Shen Yan asked how Lu Shun knew that he had come for him. Lu Shun suggested calling 4th eldest sister. Lu Shun suggested fishing together, but then realized that this might not be suitable for Shen Yan's status. Shen Yan noted that Lu Shun understood everything well, and he really came here to find him. Shen Yan showed Lu Shun a bag filled to the brim with emerald stones. He asked how big the sea of qi the guy had seen, and noted that if he gave the answer, he would receive this bag. Lu Shun curtly refused to answer. Shen Yan thought it was very personal, but he was also here for another matter. It was written all over Lu Xun's face, but Shen Yan still asked if he was interested in training outside the organization. Lu Xun doubted that he could sense anything else with his meager strength. Shen Yan replied that this time it was quite simple and most of the students would participate. Lu Xun has a new additional task, to gain Zongmen experience. The reward for the task is from 1,000 to 5,000 experience points. Lu Xun was happy that he could get as many as 5,000 experience points, because it would only take him 5 minutes. But then he decided that something was wrong here, because he had suffered so desperately on another task, and only received 20 points. Now Lu Xun only needed to draw for 5 minutes. He couldn't believe that everything could be so good. Shen Yan replied that this was true, but added that the pen that would be used to draw was called Mr. Pen. For Lu Xun, it was not surprising that ordinary people could not even pick it up, since it was Mr. Pen. It sounded dangerous, but he had to try. This time Lu Xun agreed to take part in this, and Shen Yan asked the guy to follow him. However, Lu Xun admitted that he had been walking for a very long time, so his legs were tired. Lu Xun was surprised at what it was like to fly. The guy was very sorry that this was just a one-time event. Lu Xun was here to see Zili. As he flew past, Lu Xun noted that this mountain looked like a scabbard no matter how much he looked at it. Master Shen Yan noticed that Lu Xun was interested in the appearance of this mountain. He asked if the guy knew what happened. Lu Xun asked if people could do this. This is what a huge force was exerted for this. Master Shen Yan said that Jieying Peak became like this after a sword was launched into it. Lu Xun suggested that it was a sword created by the master, but Master Shen Yan replied that no, it was a sword created by the founder of the demon clan. The master is this man's senior disciple, and he, in turn, was Master Shen Yan's teacher. Lu Xun noted that it turns out that the demon clan is only passed on for 2 generations. Shen Yan said that the guy did not hear the main thing at all. The most important thing is that Master Shen Yan's teacher is invincible and was able to cut the mountain. As long as his teacher is here, no one can surpass him. Lu Xun did not believe that according to Master Shen Yan, his elder was the strongest swordsman in the world. Lu Xun asked where the gentleman was now. Master Shen Yan replied that he was indeed the strongest swordsman in the world, but he was currently training far away from here. Lu Xun was surprised by this because, as it seemed to him, this did not happen in the previous game. Shen Yan said that his teacher was looking for a breakthrough. If he is gone, he will never be able to be reborn again. The point of keeping everyone away is to pass the test or die. Shen Yan was annoyed that the scum from Feng Qianshan and Yijianshan were constantly trying to check whether his teacher was alive or not. By doing this, they spoil the reputation of the strongest swordsman. Lu Xun noticed that Master Shen Yan said that elder brother is the first overlord of the demon clan, but he was wondering what about the master. Roughly speaking, the gentleman was a casual practitioner. He still had no family or clan because he was not part of the clan. Lu Xun thought that Mozong's actions were not demonic at all. Needless to say, many did not care about this. They say that the younger one is not particularly smart or strong, and cannot understand how rebellious the master is. Shen Yan must take the responsibility to explain himself to him. At the very beginning, Master Shen Yan's teacher cut the top with one sword. The second half of the sword energy still remains at the top of the mountain, and many cultivators can calmly watch this. Lu Xun did not believe it, and Shen Yan pointed his finger at the mountain, where he could see for himself. Lu Xun was surprised at how small the sword was. Shen Yan noted that the guy has a keen eye because he cut this mountain. Shen Yan was very proud that many swordsmen were trying to surpass his teacher. Lu Xun noted that this behavior is very similar to the demon clan. No one wants to climb to the top. Since cultivators always want to come and see this spectacle, perhaps they also want to comprehend the sword energy. Lu Xun could also try. Lu Xun asked if he could take a look at the sword energy left by his elder brother. Master Shen Yan replied that he usually refuses. However, Shen Yan replied that he would let the guy take a look, but he warned him not to get too carried away. Lu Xun did not understand that this could happen. While you are watching the energy is also watching you. Shen Yan warned that Lu Xun might die. Lu Xun was not convinced by the warning that he could die from the qi looking at him. After all, he had resurrection coins, so he definitely wouldn't die. This was a great opportunity for him. Shen Yan asked if the guy still wanted to look at it. Lu Xun replied that he wanted to, even if it promised him death. Shen Yan promised that he would do everything in his power to protect Lu Xun. Lu Xun landed on the right mountain. There was pitch darkness all around. The guy felt that there was something strange here. Lu Xun noticed a glimmer of light and believed that the sword energy was there. Lu Xun saw a sparkling stream of energy. Swinging from side to side, the stream passed through a funnel in the sky and disappeared. The guy decided that the sword had escaped. Master Shenyan grabbed Lu Xun by the scruff of the neck, pulling him back out. He was very interested in what the guy's results were. A message appeared that said that you can get a big chance. You can qualify for kendo. Lu Xun was surprised that you could get special glasses just by looking at the sword. Shenyan was shocked that he had actually comprehended the level of swordsmanship and thought that he might be a genius. This was the legendary born sword fruit. A golden light appeared in the sky and headed towards Lu Xun. Everyone in the area noticed that the sword was shaking, becoming very alarmed by this fact. Ji Li noticed this too. She decided that something had happened in the demon clan, exactly in the place where Lu Xun is located. The students were very happy for their uncle. They loudly congratulated the young master. Everyone congratulated the uncle for squeezing the heart of the sword. None of the students have ever managed to do this. Master Shenyan noted that junior uncle was truly a genius. Lu Xun didn't understand why everyone around him was so happy. It turns out that they need so little to be happy. The mission was accomplished. Lu Xun is an ordinary player, and he does not understand what Qianxin means to practitioners. And, in general, he is a coward who relies only on experience points. 10,000 experience points was enough to rise to the 5th level, but the most important thing was the attribute. Lu Xun wondered if he would be useful. Shenyan advised him to return to training. This is an external door test. How dare he interfere with the guy? Lu Xun replied that it was okay, he wanted to try. Master Shenyan allowed the guy to try. It was so great that the younger uncle had some adventures. This was the testing site. The students greeted their uncle, overlords, and elders. Lu Xun noted that they just need to conduct a test and they can leave the politeness. Because of this, the students considered Uncle such an amazing, handsome, and easy-to-talk man. One of the students noted that if Lu Xun were a girl, he would definitely fall in love with him. Shenyan suggested that everyone retreat a little. Master Shenyan invited the elders to go and have tea together. They agreed that it seemed like they hadn't done this together for a long time. Master Shenyan asked the elders if they really didn't want to look at the younger uncle's results. One of the elders shared that he would really like to see it, so he was invited to go for a drink. The familiar voice of Ji Li was heard from the crowd, which Lu Xun immediately paid attention to. Lu Xun called the girl to him, but walking through the crowd of enchanted students was another task. Ji Li reminded the guy that they had not seen each other for a long time, and Lu Xun noted that before the girl tried to catch him, but now she is shy. Lu Xun walked closer, wondering if the girl still wanted to do this, but Ji Li only replied that the student would not dare to do this. Even though Ji Li said that she didn't dare, it was written all over her face. Lu Xun was very surprised that the girl missed him so much. Playfully poking Ji Li on the cheek, the woman who was the elder of the test asked the guy if he just wanted to watch or would prefer to take part right away. Lu Xun decided that he would be the first and make everyone else nervous. The disciples were delighted with Lu Xun. Their uncle was amazing and did everything for them. Lu Xun decided to let his students become his fans. His reputation depended on them. The test elder urged Lu Xun to begin the test. In front of him was an ultra-low-level talisman paper. There were no flaws in the paper, it was all in the brush. The elder said that the brush was bought by her husband in a small town. Lu Xun needed to take it and draw it on talisman paper. It doesn't matter who paints what. The one who can hold the brush the longest will be rewarded with a green tablet. The green pill is a treasure that can last for decades of practice. It's just drawing. The disciples claimed that they could do this forever. One of them shared that painting is the best thing he does. Another called him a liar for this. Lu Xun announced that he was ready and his test began. After research, the system reported that this is a low-quality writing brush of the 20th level, comes with an ink stone. Note, there is an aura. Lu Xun was surprised that the brush was level 20, and even had an aura. He wondered how ferocious the owner of this brush was. Lu Xun decided that it didn't matter and he just had to try. Taking the brush, he was surprised at how easy it was. Lu Xun decided that there was nothing complicated here, but when he lowered his brush into the ink, he realized that it was getting heavier. Lu Xun didn't understand why he couldn't control his hand. He commanded the force that was holding him back to allow him to lift it. Finally, Lu Xun managed to pick her up. He decided that now he had definitely become an idol in the eyes of his students. He couldn't embarrass himself. Now writing and drawing was not at all difficult. The students thought the young master was simply amazing. His face was incredible. They didn't understand how he remained so persistent. The young master was a real role model. The elders noted that the guy has a very kind heart. They were sure that none of Shen Yan's chosen husbands could be ordinary. They wondered how long this young man would last. Lu Xun realized that in order to hold a pen, you need to have spiritual energy. You just had to lower it smoothly. The disciples did not understand why the young master did not move. What was he thinking? Perhaps he wanted to draw something incredible, but it wasn't that Lu Xun didn't want to move. It was that this thing didn't move at all. Lu Xun decided that if one had to rely on spiritual energy, then he would play to the end. The elder of the test shared that everything is much simpler than it seems. This brush has a soul, and you can't take it with just brute force. Lu Xun wondered how he could better control his brush then, and it seemed he understood exactly how. She needed to be handled gently, not roughly. This test was intended to test the members of the demon clan. You can't work with brute force, you need to dig deeper, and then it will be easier to cope. It seemed the young man was smarter than the elders thought. They were surprised that the guy thought of it so quickly. But it wasn't that simple. If you have no experience in releasing the aura, then you will not survive this test for long. Lu Xun had a strange feeling. He had never used aura before, and he didn't understand how he did it. Suddenly Lu Xun realized that it was all thanks to second elder sister. In fact, the test is a test of not only aura control, but also mental abilities. Moreover, according to observations, Lu Xun's spiritual energy should soon run out. They looked at him very harshly and said, "Wow, part of the task was completed. Current progress is 21,000 points received." Lu Xun had only completed the first stage, and his strength was already running low. The elders noted that their youth had done well, but he had almost reached his limit. But Lu Xun could not give up halfway. He became uninterested in simply drawing closed lines and decided to make them straight. Lu Xun managed to draw a straight line and did not find it difficult. The elders were shocked when they saw this. They didn't understand how this was possible. Lu Xun wanted to know where his limit was, so he moved from testing to testing his capabilities and began to draw. Half an hour later, Lu Xun continued to draw. The students did not understand how he lasted so long and what he was all about. Everything was almost ready. According to the system, there is very little left. Lu Xun finally finished, allowing the other students to leave. The students were delighted. They thought he was incredible and wanted to be like the young master. Lu Xun decided that he would not do this anymore. The guy almost died. Lu Xun didn't understand what was wrong with him. It seemed to him that he was about to faint. He couldn't fall now. Otherwise he would simply lose face. He shouldn't show his sweets. Even such a talent as Lu Xun had practically no strength left after such a test. Ji Li believed that the guy would not fall, and if he did fall, at least not face first into the ground. Lu Xun frantically thought about what he could do with his condition. His journey has only just begun. After rummaging through his pockets, Lu Xun found the marmalade that the fourth elder sister had given him. Cool, refreshing, restorative. Lu Xun guessed that Mao Nunbei foresaw that he would faint. It was difficult for Lu Xun to believe this, considering the mental abilities of the fourth elder sister. Feeling a little better, Lu Xun decided that it was time to return and show the appearance of a true man. The master cannot faint, so Lu Xun addressed the students, noting that it would be beneficial for them to do this exercise. The elder of the trial was very surprised to notice that Lu Xun was fine, and Ji Li was glad that he saved face. Although the guy didn't understand why she was looking at him like that. The trial continued, and the trial elder chose Ji Li as the next one. The students supported the girl in every possible way. They thought she was very diligent and wanted to be like her. They advised her to draw until she fainted. Lu Xun also watched Ji Li. Maintaining his divine image, he advised her to give it her all. Ji Li decided that she would do this and go around all of Lu Xun's women. Lu Xun wondered what the girl was going to do. He couldn't believe that Ji Li was so possessive. Ji Li tried her best. It took more than a quarter of an hour to draw the girl. The disciples thought Ji Li was incredible. They thought she was just having fun, but it turns out the girl worked so hard. The students decided that they should try even harder. No one wanted to lose to their brother and be looked down upon. After the test, Ji Li almost fainted. Fortunately, the elder managed to raise her. The poor girl worked so hard that she was exhausted. The trial elder did not have time to take care of Ji Li, so she decided to hand her over to the young master. Having caught Ji Li, Lu Xun offered her to eat a piece of marmalade, promising that it would make her feel a little better. The girl thought this act was very cute and didn't even notice how she licked Lu Xun's finger while she was eating marmalade. The elders did not understand what was happening. It was a normal test, but everyone looked like they were dead. Everything went wrong because of the young man. The test results have been summed up. Of all the participants, only Lu Xun and Ji Li remained on their feet. The elder of the test announced that the winner is Ji Li. Ji Li was very surprised that she was the one who was able to win. Lu Xun replied that there could be no other options. He couldn't get around her. The students were delighted. They decided that this was a role model for the young master. They also wanted to follow her example. That was incredible. Lu Xun had the #1 reputation. His image became more and more serious. He wanted to be given even more points. Ji Li still didn't believe that she could win. Lu Yun called the girl smart, making her blush. Master Shen Yan, who bet on Ji Li, was very happy about her victory because he received a big win for it. Shen Yan believed that Ji Li deserved to be his disciple. Shen Yan noticed that the other elders also had their eyes on the girl. These masters have good resources, an excellent attitude to teaching, and nothing but advantages. Master Shen Yan had no chance. Shen Yan decided that he needed to distract the elders, otherwise disaster would inevitably happen. Shen Yanya approached the elders with a question that needed to be discussed after the master returned. But that wouldn't happen anytime soon, so he wanted to start now. The elders did not understand what they were talking about. Master Shen Yan asked if they felt a strange force when the youth jumped from the mountain. The elders also felt this, but even with their powers, they cannot find the source of this strange energy. And the gentleman didn't seem to care much about it. Shen Yan suggested that the master might return and stop everything. The elders decided that they could not allow this to happen. They had to figure out how to deal with this. The demon clan could not be allowed to be underestimated. Shen Yan suggested holding a discussion. Everything went exactly according to his plan, and the elders fell for him. Looking at the joyful and smiling Ji Li, Lu Xun realized that for him no one could replace her. Lu Xun had a whopping 12,150 points. He had to try and spend a lot of money for the task. He had to save to improve his skills in the future. Having fallen asleep, Lu Xun first plunged into complete darkness, and then he again saw the ghost that had haunted him before. Lu Xun had another busy night. He died 19 times a night. Chewing the marmalade, Mao Nanbei noted that her brother looked like he had spent a week in a brothel. Lu Xun decided that this was absurd. Mao Nanbei asked how the guy was feeling. He replied, stuffing marmalade into his mouth, that everything was the same. Only with the update strange things are added, but otherwise nothing has changed. Lu Xun couldn't say anything special, but everything went by very quickly. Mao Nanbei was very surprised by this, and it seems that she didn't really believe the guy's words. Mao Nanbei noted that Lu Xun didn't even have a sword yet. Bowing low, Lu Xun thanked fourth elder sister for the sword. Apparently both were not ready for the conversation. Lu Xun was surprised when the system suddenly appeared. The system announced that beta testing of players has begun, closed testing, but Lu Xun didn't understand why so soon. Lu Xun was distracted by Mao Nanbei jumping on him in the form of a cat. She didn't understand what the guy was laughing at and ordered him to quickly prepare food for her older sister, because she was hungry. Lu Xun did not understand whether Mao Nanbei wanted to bring food for his elder sister or eat it himself. Half an hour later, they were all sitting near the second eldest sister, having eaten their fill. Mao Nanbei noted that the pumpkin porridge was very tasty. Lu Xun was now only at the 4th level, and he did not feel good about it. He felt inferior. Lu Xun jumped to his feet, deciding that he needed to raise his level as quickly as possible. Lu Xun promised his sister to return at noon and bring more food. No matter how difficult it was, he needed to start improving himself. The second eldest sister only replied that she understood. Lu Xun decided that her attitude towards him had changed. Lu Xun noted that tomorrow was the Mid-Autumn Festival, and asked fourth elder sister if she wanted to eat something. There were a lot of orders for dishes, but for Lu Xun it was not that important. The main thing for him was to feed these two. At that time, Lu Xun did not yet know that he was no longer alone in this world. Mao Nanbei was very happy that tomorrow her brother would prepare many different delicacies. She also told her sister that yesterday Lu Xun accepted the heart of the sword, but he did not attach the sword to it. Mao Nanbei asked if she should somehow help the guy, but the second older sister, hitting the girl on the forehead, only replied that she should not play the fool. The technique of cultivating swords is passed down from generation to generation. Mao Nanbei saw how depressed the guy was. She was very worried about him. Lu Xun was sitting in his room training when he suddenly felt a sharp pang of pain. It was too late to explain, so Mao Nanbei simply jumped up from above, ordering the guy to close his eyes and exhale. Mao Nanbei was doing something in concentration. The system notified that sword skills were being learned. Skill level, orange. The elder of the demon sect, The first sword in the world created the sword art, which was later changed by the cat-like northern and southern demons, and has now been restored to its true form. Lu Xun did not believe that this was truly an orange level. He decided that this was the best technique possible and he would learn from it. The system notified that the training was successful. Current progress, 0. Lu Xun had 10,000 points, but he was still at level 0. But another 1,500 and he will be able to get the first level. It was wonderful. He needed to get up. Mao Nanbei was very surprised that Lu Xun understood everything so quickly. Lu Xun mastered swordsmanship in just a few moments. Mao Nanbei decided that the younger brother really was a genius. Increasing skill requires raising the sword, and such a sword can have incredible power. But the problem was that the younger brother did not have a sword at all. Sword art was even more painful than cultivation. Lu Xun was in great pain. Lu Xun, who did not have a sword, absorbed too much aura at once and was unable to release it. And now he felt as if all the blood had been sucked out of his veins and then acid had been injected. Lu Xun didn't understand what was happening. His aura was approaching his heart. It was changing. Lu Xun was surprised that it was glowing. Lu Xun saw that there was something in his heart. It reminded him of a sword. Having come to his senses, Lu Xun noticed that the fourth elder sister was sitting almost on his lap. He recoiled from the girl in fear. Mao Nanbei asked how the guy was feeling. Lu Xun asked if his sister thought he had become even more handsome. Mao Nanbei decided that this meant everything was fine. He truly was special. Because of his impatience, the guy might not have been able to cope. It's good that everything worked out. Mao Nanbei warned that this technique must be learned slowly. She ordered Lu Xun to train slowly, otherwise he could die. Lu Xun replied that everything was fine, but Mao Nanbei still ordered him not to do anything wrong. Without treasures, he will not achieve any result. Lu Xun had no intention of doing anything like that. Grabbing his hand, Mao Nanbei ordered the guy to get up. He needed to meet his older sister. If he dies, Mao Nanbei will not have anything to eat. Second elder sister was very surprised that Lu Xun was hiding a sword in her heart. She didn't understand how the human body could be used. Noticing her sister's worried face, Mao Nanbei became worried that her little brother might have problems. The second elder sister replied that there was no problem, but the younger brother was growing a sword within himself. They were both very surprised by this news. Mao Nanbei noted that Lu Xun, like the founding descendant of Qianshan, is a sword fruit. Lu Xun decided that as long as this sword was in him, he would not see harmony. Lu Xun did not believe that he was so powerful. But the problem was that he was only level 1, but should have been level 10. He was simply forced to do everything possible for this. Second elder sister asked Mao Nanbei to find the master in the sword. The girl did not understand why she needed a sword. The woman replied that she wanted to give her younger brother a try. Mao Nanbei immediately rushed out of her seat to carry out the instructions. In pursuit, Lu Xun asked her to find him a better sister. The higher the better. Mao Nanbei decided that this brat had completely lost his belt. She'll arrange it for him. Lu Xun did not believe that he would finally have his own sword. The guy was in 7th heaven. Sometime later, Mao Nanbei returned. She showed Lu Xun the sword she had brought. 2 swords flew towards Lu Xun. The guy did not understand why streams of wind were coming from them. Mao Nanbei wondered if brother could catch both swords. Lu Xun decided that his elder sister was just playing with him. He won't get hurt. Lu Xun was more worried about the fact that if he didn't catch the swords, his beautiful face would be disfigured. Before Lu Xun could concentrate to catch the swords, the second elder sister herself stopped them, driving the swords into the ground. Mao Nanbei just wanted to help her brother, but the second eldest sister warned that if she wants to be a good sister, then she must take care of the guy. Mao Nanbei knew this. Lu Xun found second senior sister very cute. It was so touching. Second senior sister said that Lu Xun should try. In front of him were 2 swords, the Purple Emperor, a first-class magical weapon, and the Black Blade, a middle-class weapon. Lu Xun thought about which sword to choose and decided to start with the weakest one. When he took the sword in his hands, it seemed to Lu Xun that everything was in order, but a moment later the sword itself flew out of his hands. Mao Nanbei was surprised how this was possible. Lu Xun didn't understand what was happening. He decided that the sword in his heart prevented him from touching other swords. Lu Xun decided to try again. He was confident that this time he would definitely succeed. But nothing worked out. The sword jumped out of his hands again. Lu Xun decided that he didn't understand something. Perhaps the sword in the heart is simply jealous. Approaching the guy, the second older sister invited him to take her sword. The system could not determine the level of the second elder sister's sword. Lu Xun didn't know what to do. As soon as Lu Xun took his sister's sword in his hands, an energy wave immediately threw him into the air. Lu Xun landed on the ground with a crash. It seemed that even his sister's sword didn't accept the sword in his heart. Lu Xun was afraid that he would never be able to hold a sword. It freezes him out. He wondered if he could try something else. Mao Nanbei asked the guy to behave normally. She didn't understand why Lu Xun couldn't hold the sword. Lu Xun suggested that perhaps he had been unable to hold a sword since birth. Mao Nanbei decided that things were bad, seeing how upset the guy was. Mao Nanbei tried to support Lu Xun. She promised her brother that they would definitely come up with something. Mao Nanbei said that the Lord is omnipotent. When she was a little cat, he was able to transform her. With the exception of ugly men, the gentleman is very nice to everyone. Mao Nanbei lost her thoughts when she noticed how attractive Lu Xun looked. The second elder sister invited them to fight each other. She wanted to see how Lu Xun's sword would react to the battle. Mao Nanbei was already planning something, but second senior sister ordered her to bring disciple Nick Jianshu. A few moments later, Mao Nanbei announced that the student had arrived, dragging him in her arms to the required location. This student turned out to be Ji Li. She was very happy to see Lu Xun. The guy was also glad to see his old girlfriend. Ji Li didn't understand what was happening here. She was even more surprised when Lu Xun asked her to hit him with her sword. Ji Li tried to touch his forehead to check if everything was okay with the guy. Grabbing her hand, Lu Xun replied that he was fine, and once again asked the girl to hit him with the sword. Ji Li advised the guy to get ready, because she would use all her strength. Lu Xun was only happy about this. He asked the girl to hit him as hard as she could. Ji Li accelerated to strike with all her might, but she couldn't. Something was blocking her. The blocking was so strong that the girl literally flew back. Fortunately, Mao Nanbei managed to catch her. Lu Xun's sword prevented others from harming him. He didn't understand how this was even possible. Lu Xun decided that this was the expansion of territories without swords. Mao Nanbei didn't understand why he wasn't worried. He was born with a sword, but did not know how to use it. It didn't make sense. Lu Xun also thought about the fact that he could not use his sword. He didn't understand what the point of a sword in the heart was then. He could create a swordless territory and then fight in close combat. But a sword is only good when it is used. Being unarmed is useless, and having a cheap sword is too, so it's a waste of time. It didn't fit the guy's personality as a demon. Lu Xun wondered if there was a way to do this without a sword. Possibly the sixth chakra. A blue glow appeared on Lu Xun's fingers. It seemed to him that this was the sword. Second elder sister confirmed that it was sword energy. Mao Nanbei did not understand. What is the use of such a short sword aura? Short and perhaps weak, not as strong as a long sword. The most unbearable thing for a man is when he is told that he is small. He should have been with Lu Xun today. Second elder sister said that it was not necessary. She created energy around her hands, ordering Lu Xun to try. Ji Li was scared when she realized that the teacher wanted to use these things to hit her little brother. His beautiful face might have suffered. The second elder sister sent energy towards the guy. Mao Nanbei understood that the youngest did not yet know how to use his sword, and she could not let him get hurt. Lu Xun did not look scared. He belonged to a small generation that achieved heights in physical exercise. Lu Xun managed to deftly repulse the attack. It looks like his sword was short but strong. Ji Li decided that her uncle was simply incredible. Second senior sister thought that the sword's aura was not bad. Suddenly Lu Xun fainted. Sword aura, loss of quantity, cultivation too low. He continued to mutter incoherent nonsense. Cursing quietly under her breath, Mao Nanbei continued to carry her younger brother up the steps. She wouldn't do this if she wasn't afraid that Lu Xun might freeze. Lu Xun didn't have to fight it, but he believed that everyone close to him was dead. Mao Nanbei promised to cut off the head of anyone who dared to offend him. Through the open door, Mao Nanbei saw a black cat. The girl decided that it was Blackie and hurried to meet her, but it turned out to be just a hallucination. Time flew by very quickly. It was mid-autumn, which means it was time for family meetings. A sword that is not used will be empty. After waking up, Lu Xun wished the fourth younger sister good morning. Lu Xun was surprised that Mao Nanbei was too calm. Usually at this time she already wanted to eat something. Moreover, today was a mid-autumn day. Sitting on the couch next to Mao Nanbei, Lu Xun asked his sister what happened. Sighing heavily, Mao Nanbei asked Lu Xun if he knew why she appeared in Waicheng. Lu Xun guessed that in order to kill 100 ghosts. Mao Nanbei asked if he might know the reason for her intentions. Lu Xun didn't know this. Cultivation did not seem to be the main goal, but for the sake of gaining experience points it was already possible. Only he already had them. It was for revenge. Lu Xun was surprised at this reason. Mao Nanbei said that she used to be a kitsune in the forest on the outskirts of the city, but as soon as she regained her form, she was forced to return. Manhwa homeland is on Wildcat Mountain, outside the city, where her family and friends lived before she became a demon. But then everything changed. All her loved ones were killed. This was done by a ghost who became the ruler of the mountain. Manhwa's world collapsed. The girl killed him, avenging everyone. Then his body split into several parts, turning into 100 ghosts. Manhwa met Lu Xun and Ji Li while she was hunting for them. Today was the Mid-Autumn Festival, and Lu Xun realized that Manhwa was missing his loved ones. One day his sister was also treated unfairly. Lu Xun wanted to improve his elder sister's mood, so he grabbed the girl's hand and dragged her along. Lu Xun brought her to the kitchen and asked Manhwa to wait a little before he gave her back her happiness. In the past, when his family was not rich and his sister was not in good spirits, Lu Xun prepared this. Unfortunately, he didn't have white sugar, but powdered sugar will come to the rescue. Half an hour later, everything was ready. Lu Xun asked fourth senior sister to use spiritual power to cool the food. After Manhwa fulfilled his request, Lu Xun said that they would now witness a miracle. Opening the lid, Lu Xun invited the girl to try it. Manhwa had never eaten anything like this before. Manhwa tried a piece and was delighted with how delicious it was. Manhwa invited Lu Xun to also try a piece, but he replied that she should eat it herself. If the girl wants, he will cook her more. Manhwa decided that then she would eat everything and began to devour the dish. Fourth elder sister didn't know what it felt like to be touched. Lu Xun thought maybe he should give it a try, but then Lu Xun became afraid that Manhwa might go berserk. Before Lu Xun made a decision, Manhwa herself turned around, allowing him to pat her head, thanking her brother. Lu Xun replied that there was no reason. They were now one family. Then Manhwa asked for more. The guy was in the demonic clan for a long time. The elder asked if it might be worth sending him to a secret place where all clan members should gather. Master Shenyan agreed that after all it was time for him to visit there. This place is the starting point of all demon clan disciples, an ideal place for all kinds of creatures. Arriving at Manhwa, Shenyan and his brothers and sisters wished her a good mid-autumn festival. Lu Xun was surprised that the head and elders came to them. They replied that they were glad to meet and would like to ask him a question. Lu Xun noted that it was very impolite for them to come to congratulate them on the holiday empty-handed. He invited them to try his dish. The elders did not understand what it was. It was similar to tofu but looked different. It didn't look much like dessert either. Having tried it, the elders were delighted. They lived 200 to 300 years, but they had never tried anything like this. Master Shen Yan was even willing to share the spirit stone to find out how Lu Xun had perfected this dish. Lu Xun believed that even chips, if used correctly, could be beaten well. Lu Xun noted that he was not surprised that the elders were attracted to the dish. They are from the demon clan and there could be no secrets between them, but everything depended on their sincerity. There was too little sincerity. Lu Xun was ready to give away their recipe, but would their faces really remain unchanged? The master did not understand what the guy wanted. Lu Xun replied that he would give the recipe to the one who showed more sincerity. In the future, he would be able to use the recipe for his own purposes. He didn't need to talk about the benefits of the dish. Everything was clear and without words. If the elders promote the dish, they will gain popularity. They will succeed. And then they will teach this recipe to as many followers as possible. One of the elders was willing to pay 1,000 spiritual stones. He had to get this recipe. Another elder offered 1,500 stones for the recipe. The third 1,501. It looks like something big is coming. The woman offered 2,000 for the recipe. Shen Yan thought she was crazy. It's just a recipe after all. For that kind of money you could buy a good magical weapon. Lu Xun was lost in thought for a long time. If you use 2,000 spiritual stones, you can get approximately several tens of thousands of points. This recipe impressed them greatly. He could have done better. The auction has begun. 2,000 spiritual stones times. Will no one offer more? Master Shen Yan considered the elders to be fools and fools. He believed in striving for simpler things. Lu Xun was about to end the auction at 2,000, but Shen Yan interrupted the guy. His bet was 3,000 stones. The elders were shocked by what they heard. They decided that they were imagining things, or that Shen Yan had gone crazy. Shen Yan was not usually such a spender. What made him spend so much today? They didn't understand since when the master fell in love with sweets so much. Without hoping that anyone would offer a higher price, Lu Xun sold the recipe to the master for 3,000 spiritual stones. Manhwa noted that this was a huge expense for Master Shen Yan, and the master himself decided that from now on he would only eat twice a day. After taking his money, Lu Xun handed Shen Yan the piece of paper with the recipe. noting that the fate of this recipe was now in his hands. Shen Yan did not understand what the elders were up to. They looked suspicious. The elders themselves noted that they had been on friendly terms with the master for many years, and he could share this recipe with them. For this, they were ready to throw 500 spiritual stones to the master. To Shen Yan, this sounded like a lucrative offer. He could give them the recipe and then improve it in secret. He had more ideas, so he wouldn't lose anything. Shen Yan replied that they should not talk nonsense. He cannot share such a treasure. The elders decided that the master would now carry this recipe around for the rest of his days. Lu Xun was just trying to convert his money into experience when Shen Yan noticed that in addition to the holiday greetings, there was something else. Master Shen Yan noted that he hopes that one day their brother will climb with him to the Tibetan mountain, which is the secret place of the demon clan. This is a place where followers can improve their powers. One of the elders shared that they had already placed bets on what level of weapon his brother would receive, but another teacher immediately shut his mouth so that he would not stir up too much. It turns out that there the magical weapon itself finds its owner. Lu Xun replied that he could come any day except today. Lu Xun wanted to spend today with his family. After preparing the food, Lu Xun, Ji Li, and Mao Nanbei went to the second elder sister, where they all began to eat together. Mao Nanbei asked if Lu Xun was really ready to go to the Tibetan mountain. If they do this, there will be no turning back. Lu Xun didn't understand what this meant. Mao Nanbei explained that after the death of a cultivator, the soul's power does not dissipate but remains in the burial place. When followers climb a Tibetan mountain, past generations watch them but should not interfere. But if the student refuses to accept the magical weapon, the spirits will feel insulted. In other words, then Lu Xun will not be able to return and he will be dragged there. Second elder sister pointed out that this was why Lu Xun needed to think things over carefully, but the guy replied that she had nothing to worry about. Everything would be fine. Mao Nanbei advised Lu Xun to abandon this idea. Otherwise, problems might arise because he wanted to get the best magical weapon for himself, the Qi blade. Lu Xun decided that he would act at random, which greatly surprised Ji Li and the rest of those present. Second elder sister gave Lu Xun a gift, but even the system could not determine what it was. Mao Nanbei said that this was a small gift for her brother from the sisters, and the second sister shared that there used to be 5 of these, but this is the last. Lu Xun asked how to use it, but second elder sister only replied that he would find out later. Shen Yan said that ordinary people are forbidden to climb the Tibetan mountain. After all, their predecessors are buried on it. Lu Xun asked what kind of house on the mountain it was. Shen Yan said that this is the house of the guardian of the mountain, who has been following the head for many years. The guardian of the mountain turned out to be an elder. It would be inappropriate to say that he has nothing to do with the demon clan. Shen Yan introduced his newly accepted follower to the guardian. Lu Xun thought that the guardian had a face as if he had known the guy for a long time. Lu Xun received a new meaning, +1 luck. In his past life, Lu Xun was not very successful, but now he had 2 whole luck points. Lu Xun thought that this elder was some kind of legendary person, but it seemed somehow strange to him. Lu Xun introduced the elder with the body of the fish that Mao Nanbei eats. He had to force his brain to stop. Lu Xun walked through the passage into the Tibetan mountain. Shen Yan believed that the mission could be considered completed. There was no turning back. Master Shen Yan encouraged other elders to place bets. They could bet on what kind of magical weapon their brother would get. Lu Xun found himself in a gloomy place, to which steps led, strewn with the swords of the fallen. This was the Tibetan mountain. Lu Xun was surprised by the countless weapons that were on the mountain. Lu Xun assumed that the blade he needed was located on the top of the mountain, but magical weapons choose their own owner. The guy was wondering which weapon would choose him. As Lu Xun approached, he noticed dozens of swords flying into the air. They all made sounds, which means they all chose him. Lu Xun felt a prick in the area of his heart. The choice was not easy, but he decided that none of these swords were right for him. Watching Lu Xun through the magic mirror, the elders were surprised at how good the guy was because everyone chose him. The elders wondered which blade he would choose because he did not even look at any sword, but simply walked by. Lu Xun decided that he did not need either of these swords. The sword in his heart didn't want him to touch anything at all. Lu Xun felt a pleasant feeling. It looked like there was something good above. A magical weapon of this level was equivalent to a treasure. The elders noticed that Brother Xiao was heading towards the most valuable magical weapon. Initially, the head accepted 12 followers, of which only a small part remained. The path was quite difficult, so this was not surprising. Walking a little further, Lu Xun noticed a magic cloak first date. This was Lu Xun's favorite equipment. The guy didn't understand how it got here. Then Lu Xun was very pleased with this equipment. It couldn't be better. Was it still reacting to the guy? Unfortunately for Lu Xun, the equipment did not show the slightest attention. The guy was angry that the equipment didn't recognize him. Lu Xun did not expect this, but the fact that he was able to find his first date here in the Secret Kingdom meant that all was not lost. It was possible to move on. If you follow all the rules, you can even survive while here. Lu Xun could barely see anything due to the thick fog. Suddenly he saw a purple glow, which meant the purple level. Lu Xun was very surprised by this. He had no idea that such a thing even existed. Even the elders were surprised by the appearance of the purple level. They haven't seen this for a long time. The girl told the 11th brother that if he wins, they will get married. Young Yue Heshan could not believe that the girl really wanted this. The sister replied that heaven itself would testify to them. All the elders agreed to this, and Yue Heshan that the heavenly Tao himself would bless them. Determined to win, the 11th brother rolled the dice, asking the gods to grant him a 6. Unfortunately for him, the number 2 came up on the die. The girl knew that her brother had liked her for a long time. She decided that if the number was 1, then heaven would not be against their union. But she rolled a 6. Everyone was surprised at the number that came up, but the sister imperceptibly moved her fingers, causing the cube to turn 1 up. The girl clicked her fingers with satisfaction, saying that the 11th brother had won, for which she congratulated him. Although it was not easy, the 11th brother won, and today their union will be sealed. Congratulations were heard from all sides. It was raining that day, but Yue Heshan's heart was sunny. Lu Xun was surprised that no one from the purple level wanted to choose him. Suddenly one of the swords flew up. It was my sister's calming the storm. It was second only to the Qi blade. If Lu Xun takes it, it will be something. Lu Xun noted that this blade is not bad, since he recognized the main character in this world. But he still doubted his choice. It seemed to Lu Xun that the sword in his heart allowed him to accept this blade. The guy decided that he wouldn't know until he tried. As soon as Lu Xun touched the blade, a magical glow appeared around him and a funnel pulled him inside. He found himself in a snowy area. In the middle of the clearing, a sword stuck out of the snow. Lu Xun guessed that this was the sword dream world. One day, the sister used the blade to calm the winds, hence the name Pacifying the Storm. My sister was very talented in those years, but evil was more deadly. Unfortunately, even the elders were helpless in front of that dragon. If the sister was still there, then the position of clan head could no longer belong to Master Shen Yan, because there were people much more capable than him. Shen Yan decided that it would be great for Brother Xiao to succeed and gain his sister's abilities. Illusions only got in the way. Literally just now, Lu Xun has advanced an order of magnitude. It was a very fickle blade, but the guy was going to have it. As soon as Lu Xun touched the blade, he was immediately thrown back several meters. The angry guy thought that the blade could have said earlier that it would not go to him. The elders were a little shocked. They thought that Brother Xiao would be able to get the calm the storm. But the blade has already chosen Brother Xiao. Has his opinion really changed? Frustrated, Lu Xun decided that he would find another weapon willing to go to him. Very soon, Lu Xun will reach the Keyblade. All he had to do was reach the top. It was the blade of the sister, a follower of the demon clan, the Blade of Qi. Lu Xun was surprised that the blade did not move when he approached. The Stormbreaker responded to it, but this blade did not. The strangest thing for Lu Xun was that the blade lay in exactly this position. He didn't understand what was going on. In addition, the thing given by my sister was clearly somehow connected with the blade. As soon as Lu Xun took out the second elder sister's gift, the blade began to react. The guy decided that when hesitation began, he would grab him. Noticing the hesitation, Lu Xun grabbed the sword despite the pain in his chest. He didn't care if he lost his life. He had to get this sword. Lu Xun grabbed the sword, forcing himself not to let go. Lu Xun fell to the ground exhausted. It seemed to him that he almost died, but nothing was impossible for the guy. The mission was completed. He had the blade. Lu Xun was surprised that there were no elder bonuses. The guy decided that some kind of breakdown had occurred, or perhaps the bonus was that he didn't die. Seeing the elder of the mountain, Lu Xun was very surprised. He did not expect to see him and did not understand what had happened. Taking the blade in his hands, Lu Xun realized that he had a spirit. The guy was very surprised by this. This was the first time he had heard of such a thing. Lu Xun suggested that perhaps this blade had previously belonged to the elder of the mountain, but he just shook his head negatively. Then Lu Xun suggested that perhaps the elder made this blade, and it turned out to be true. The man smiled affectionately as he patted Lu Xun on the shoulder. It seemed to the guy that the elder entrusted him with something important. The elders suddenly appeared and began to congratulate Lu Xun. They noted that the sword spirit was a top-level magic weapon and that Brother Xiao was very lucky. Lu Xun agreed with this, but he had to go through a lot for the sake of this blade. He was so exhausted that he asked the elders to lift him up. Lu Xun was very happy. The purple rank was just right for him, and the size of the sword was appropriate. Blade sheath, rating, purple rank, skills, seal, accumulation of power, seal, seals the blade, accumulation of power, carefully collects all the power, and then sharply throws it out. The best weapon that Lu Xun had managed to obtain before was blue rank. Back then he was at level 60 and had reached the limit of his capabilities. Back then Lu Xun could not even dream of such a blade. He still could not use it. Now he had skills that would greatly help him in the future. The seal blocked everything. It was somewhat similar to his Kingdom of Freedom, but accumulating strength will help you get inspired by accumulating a lot of strength and releasing it at the right moment. Suddenly Lu Xun realized that the accumulation skill would not help him, because he did not have the blade itself. Lu Xun decided that perhaps the qi energy could act as a blade. The guy decided to test his theory. It turned out well. While others draw their blades, Lu Xun will bear his qi energy. Half an hour later, Lu Xun felt almost like a corpse. He couldn't even imagine that he would be so tired because of some kind of sheath. There were only 6 days before the players arrived, so Lu Xun decided that he needed to slowly begin to descend, even though he did not have the strength to do so. Lu Xun hoped that he would be able to meet his sister. At least look at it from afar. She also plays this game, but her online time does not exceed an hour a day. She clearly does not suffer from addiction. And Lu Xun decided to play to find common topics for conversation. Just an hour. Lu Xun was not sure that he would be able to see the sister. He missed her so much. Lu Xun, immersed in sad thoughts, did not notice how he fell asleep. He found himself back in a dream where he was haunted by a ghost. The shadow of the blade that the second elder sister was chasing so much, she was still here. Lu Xun guessed that he had come face to face with the shadow of second elder sister. Lu Xun tried to use his sword and realized that it was long, much longer than outside of sleep. He could even turn it around his axis. The next morning, Lu Xun woke up very joyful. There was progress. This time he died only a few dozen times per night. Suddenly, Lu Xun heard a knock on the door. The guy was surprised that someone came to him so early. The unexpected guest was Master Shen Yan. He informed Lu Xun that today was the day to go down the mountain. Shen Yan said that he had agreed on everything and the guy would be accompanied. Lu Xun asked who it would be. Judging by the time, everything should have happened today. Lu Xun decided that it had to be Li Ji, so there was no mystery for him. Shen Yan said that Murong Yan would be the escort. Lu Xun was surprised by this and asked why Ji Li was not chosen. Master Shen Yan said that Ji Li had already descended from the mountain, so she would not be able to accompany the guy, but he did not know when this happened. Lu Xun didn't really believe it. It seemed strange to him that the mentor did not know when his followers descended from the mountain. Lu Xun decided not to pay attention to this for now and said that he would be moving forward soon. Shen Yan replied that first they would see what the bead said, but for this he needed a drop of blood. Lu Xun agreed, but he did not understand why. It seemed to him that such props had never existed before. If the brother gets into trouble, the bead will turn black. Lu Xun was surprised that all this was just to find out whether he was dead or not. It is not surprising that he had never come across this thing before. Master Shen Yan said that Murong Yan was waiting for the guy at the top, and it was time for him to leave. Lu Xun noted that his arrival was too ordinary. Lu Xun decided that if Master Shen Yan did not want to deal with him, then the sisters would have a different opinion. Lu Xun went to say goodbye to his sisters. He didn't know how long it would take to return to them. Mao Nanbei was very upset that they would have no one to cook in the evening, and the second elder sister only asked Lu Xun to return as soon as possible. Mao Nanbei advised Lu Xun to fight if he knows for sure that he can defeat the enemy, but if not, then it is better to run away, because there was nothing shameful in this. He definitely had to come back and prove to the fourth eldest sister that he had coped with everything. As soon as Lu Xun climbed to the top, all the disciples immediately flew at him. They've already been waiting so long for him. Lu Xun immediately noticed that Murong Yan had lost weight. The woman said that my brother had excellent eyesight. Her strength increased and her fat decreased. Lu Xun said that it was time for them to hit the road. He didn't want to stay too long. Murong Yan suggested going on a flying blade. Lu Xun and Murong Yan had to fly on a small blade with one leg each standing on it. It was, to put it mildly, not very convenient. Not even a couple of minutes of their flight had passed before the sky turned black. Lu Xun was very frightened by the fact that the sky changed so suddenly. Morongyan flew calmly as if nothing had happened. Lu Xun didn't understand whether she really couldn't see anything. There was a brother's aura that was half made entirely of swords. Lu Xun didn't understand why this was happening right now. Lu Xun asked Morongyan to be faster as energy began to pour out of his chest. Morongyan didn't understand what happened. She didn't notice anything, but Lu Xun felt that something had happened. Brother's angry clone had just fallen into Lu Xun's ring. The guy was taken by surprise. Lu Xun received 1% opposition, but even 1% could be enough. But perhaps the reason why the guy was not given another weapon was that the second sister foresaw everything. If this is really the case, then even 1% of the confrontation could be useful to Lu Xun. Morongyan reported that they had descended from a Tibetan mountain and asked where they should go next. Lu Xun decided that they needed to find Zili. She probably also came down the mountain for revenge. She is very talented and they could use some help. Lu Xun was also worried that some misfortune might have happened to Zili. Just thinking about this, Lu Xun became furious. He ordered Morongyan to immediately go to Zili's house. She agreed, only noting that it was not necessary to scream so loudly. Morongyan remembered that Zili had mentioned that her home was in Yunnan County. Lu Xun noted that there were many monsters from Haicheng in this district. Morongyan had never heard the name Haicheng monsters before. He was simply called the Hairy Demon. Lu Xun replied that he simply came up with the name himself. 30 kilometers later, they arrived in Yunnan County. They just received the meat. This time the meat was good. Entering the building with a sweeping step, Lu Xun immediately ordered the merchant to bring them food. The owner ordered the merchant to meet the guests. Toy, breaking into a tight smile, asked what they wanted. Lu Xun replied that he could bring anything, it doesn't matter. Morongyan didn't understand what was happening. Lu Xun replied in a whisper to tell Morongyan not to drink the tea. There was poison in it. This establishment was a black market. After pouring the tea onto the floor, Morongyan was convinced that this was true. She asked her brother how he knew this. Lu Xun replied that it was all because of the smell. When he first came in, he noted that he was very specific. In fact, this was not true, but only an effect on Morongyan's psychosomatics. The problem was that the owner's name was marked in red. This was the first time Lu Xun saw the red name. Only the murderers had it. Lu Xun was tasked with sorting things out here. The reward is 50,000 experience points and 100 additional points. Lu Xun was overjoyed at the side quest that appeared for the first time. Moreover, it consisted of 3 parts. The first part of the task was to find a defenseless daughter and mother. They even gave a hint. But Lu Xun thought that everything was too tied up. Morongyan asked if Lu Xun was looking for the source of the strange smell, but in fact the guy was looking for kidnapped people. Morongyan was surprised that these people kidnapped someone. Lu Xun guessed that they might be keeping the abductees in the kitchen, or that they might already be sharpening their knives in preparation for cutting them into meat. Morongyan was uncomfortable with the images in her head that appeared after the guy's words. She decided to head to the kitchen and find out everything. They will not be able to stand against her. Lu Xun stopped her abruptly. In such matters, it was necessary to adhere to a clear plan. You couldn't just break in there. Morong didn't understand what they should do then, but Lu Xun only told her to watch him carefully. Lu Xun called the waiter and told him to go to the owner and order him to release the captured mother and daughter. Have him tie himself up and come to the table. Lu Xun considered himself very good. 3 aggressive men with batons suggested that the guy must be joking, and the joke was not very funny. Morongyan tried to stand up for the guy, but he ordered her to sit down. He hasn't fought in a long time. Lu Xun decided that he would not allow them to escape and rushed into battle screaming. Morongyan noted that brother is fiercer than everyone here combined. Having thoroughly beaten everyone present, Lu Xun once again inquired about the abducted mother and daughter. The frightened robbers replied that the abducted were in the back kitchen. The owner ordered the guy to be silent by piercing his head with an arrow. He stated that these guys were not trained enough, so he came with a squad of reinforcements. Morongyan asked if she could join the fight, but Lu Xun told her not to worry. They will all die anyway. All their names were in red. The robbers rushed to the attack screaming, trying to kill the guy, but Lu Xun knew that they were all already dead. The robbers were shocked by the guy. Their blades did not take him. They were surprised that he was a cultivator and did not understand what kind of technique he was using. Lu Xun released his cumulative power. The owner, pulling the crossbow, decided that the boy would meet his death here. But before he even had time to twitch, all the robbers were blown away by the shockwave. Lu Xun again inquired about the abducted mother and daughter. Lu Xun promised that if the owner told the truth, he would keep his corpse safe and sound. The owner replied that if he wanted to find out their whereabouts, he would have to make him talk, and broke into a run. The man pulled out a crossbow as he ran, firing 3 arrows one after the other. He promised Lu Xun that he would die now. Barely twitching, Lu Xun repulsed all the arrows, asking the owner not to complain later. Jumping up, Lu Xun was next to the fleeing man in a split second. He cursed quietly under his breath. The man poked Lu Xun with his blade, but he didn't care. He didn't understand how this was possible. And when he realized that it was a cultivator, it was already too late. The man fell to his knees, admitting that he was wrong. He asked for his life to be spared and said that he was forced to do so. County officials left him no choice. He waited for something to change. Yunnan County has always been quite peaceful, filled with singing, dancing, and fun. People lived in abundance, but 3 years ago the government changed. People were enslaved and forced to work hard. Farmland is destroyed. Families cannot gather around the table, and children cannot meet their own parents. In order to fix everything, people fell before the new ruler. Morong said that even though there is peace in their days, there are still an overwhelming majority of bad officials, even among their demon clan. Lu Xun was surprised to hear that this turned out to be true. Lu Xun asked why the owner kidnapped the mother and daughter. The man invited them to follow him. He would show everything and tell them this story. The woman tried to calm the crying baby. She was sure that someone would definitely help them. The owner pointed his finger at the kidnapped people, declaring that they were not afraid of them at all and were not used to humiliating others. Lu Xun assumed that they were from the family of the new ruler. The side quest has been completed. Lu Xun received 50,000 experience points and 100 extra points. He wondered if the man was telling the truth. The second task has appeared. Get rid of the fog and find out the truth. Reward 60,000 experience points and 100 reputation points. The appearance of the second task meant that the man was lying. Lu Xun said that in this case, he must verify everything personally. The man understood that if he came in, everything would immediately come to light. He was sure that the head was already on the way back. He just needed to bide his time. Once inside, Lu Xun approached the woman. They said that the robbers were barbarians. She gave them all her gold and silver and did not understand what else they needed. The man ordered her to shut up. She and her husband deserved the worst punishment. Today heaven has sent him a man who will punish her, so she will die. Looking at Lu Xun, the woman replied that although he is handsome, he is a vile person. Spending on such a person is a waste of God's efforts. Lu Xun noted that his charm will always come in handy. The owner said that she needed to leave, otherwise it was unclear what else she would come up with. He understood that if they stayed, the woman could tell her something else. Bending over the woman, Lu Xun wanted to ask her a question. He promised that if she answered, he would help her. The woman did not believe that she and the child could actually be released, but Lu Xun assured her that he would do so. He asked her to concentrate. People say there is plenty of grain. The guy asked which one it was. The woman immediately replied that it was rice, millet, wheat, and beans. She was very surprised that someone might not know this. Lu Xun realized that this was true. He ordered Murong Yan to immediately seize the man. The woman was deliberately captured. The owner ran away, asking his brother to help him. A man who arrived on a horse became interested in who dared to attack the owner. Noticing a man on a horse and an armed squad of robbers, Murong Yan asked the guy if it was still worth catching the owner. Lu Xun ordered her to close the door. There was no point in catching the man now. The main thing was to complete the task. Lu Xun promised the woman that he would help her, but she didn't know if she could trust them. But now she had no choice but to believe them. She admitted that she was the wife of the ruler of Yunnan County. This is their daughter. A few days ago, their district suffered greatly due to flooding. Her husband was very busy with his duties, so she decided to somehow help people. But halfway they were robbed. Everyone died. The woman learned that they were planning to capture her and then make an exchange with her husband. The woman knew poor Li Ji. She knew that her parents were first killed, then her house was burned down. She did not think that her husband would be able to find her in exchange for her and her daughter. All the woman wanted now was revenge on the bandits. It turns out that everything is connected with Ji Li. Lu Xun promised the woman that as long as he was here, she would not die. The woman shook her head. She said that all bandits have unusual abilities and that they should not worry about her and the child and leave. The only thing the woman asked was to pick up her daughter and deliver her to her father. Task 2. Get rid of the fog and find out the truth. Completed. Reward. 60,000 experience points and 100 reputation points. Lu Xun assured the woman that if he said everything was fine, then it would be so. A third task appeared, to deliver the mother and daughter home. Reward for completion: 70,000 experience points, 100 reputation points, and qualification points. Lu Xun was surprised by the qualification points. He believed that this was the main prize. The guy wondered if he could fly if he got the glasses. Lu Xun said that it was time to return. The woman guessed that they were cultivators and asked what clan they were from. She was very puzzled when Murongyan told her that they were from the demon clan. Lu Xun glanced at the robbers. They even had bows and arrows. He noted that they were well prepared. The gang leader threatened that it was time to make a decision. He was sure that even the cultivators would not be able to take the woman away from them. Lu Xun knew that they captured this woman for the sake of Ji Li, and suggested that the robbers make an exchange for the treasure. The leader of the robbers decided that he didn't care and could see what the guy had to offer. Lu Xun took out the scabbard he found on the mountain, urging the man to take it. The leader agreed to look at the proposal, and Lu Xun came closer to him, holding out the scabbard. The man, swinging his sword, decided that since the guy extended his hand, it meant it was superfluous. But before the blade could touch Lu Xun's skin, the man flew away. The sword in the guy's heart shone with gold. Lu Xun invited the man to become one of his victims. Frightened, the leader of the robbers immediately jumped on his horse, heading towards his squad and ordering them to go into battle. The archers instantly pulled their bowstrings, preparing to strike. 50 arrows flew at Lu Xun, but the guy didn't even raise an eyebrow. He ordered his energy to come out. When the battle was over, every single robber lay exhausted and defeated on the ground. Lu Xun noted that when he was developing with all his might, they were not even in sight. Noticing that the fight was over, the woman came out of her hiding place, thanking the cultivator who had saved her. She wanted to bow to Lu Xun in gratitude, but the guy stopped her. Lu Xun promised that he would take the woman home to reassure her husband. As soon as the mother and child are at home, his task will be completed. The woman became embarrassed, apologizing for the trouble. She noted that this cultivator from the demon clan was not only good-looking, but also had the ability to speak sweetly. The company slowly headed away from Yunnan County. Lu Xun remembered that there used to be a fierce and wild monster in this area. Suddenly a strong wind blew up. The sky became cloudy and darkness fell. Lu Xun was scared. He wanted to believe that this was just a bad omen. The others also noticed the drastic changes and became a little alarmed. The woman asked the cultivator what happened. It was a dark-haired demon. A terrible demon appeared in front of the company, resembling a huge monkey with long, sharp fangs. Murongyan noted that the dark-haired demons were rank 2, so it would not be easy. Lu Xun ordered Murongyan to look after the woman and child, otherwise she could rely on him. Murong did not argue with this. Lu Xun went into battle. It was all just for experience points. Lu Xun noted that demons have developed limbs and ordinary intelligence. He wondered how many they had killed in their lives. Having received many injuries, the demons realized that this guy was not so simple. Then they decided that it was worth catching those of lower rank. The demons headed towards the women, but Lu Xun didn't even think about letting them change their target. With a wave of his hand, he released his energy. The system notified that 3 dark-haired demons had been successfully killed. The reward was 22 experience points. Lu Xun took the joyful baby in his arms, playing with her stem. He told the girl that she need not worry, because her uncle had driven everyone away. Finally, the company reached the palace of Yunnan County. Mr. Zhang immediately threw himself on his knees, thanking the cultivator for saving his wife, even though Lu Xun asked him not to do this and to get up immediately. Lu Xun's attention was drawn to a little girl who also fell to her knees next to the master. The guy noted that the girl was very cute. Side Quest 3. Deliver mother and daughter home. Completed. Lu Xun received 70,000 experience points, 100 reputation points, and qualification points. Lu Xun wondered if he could get up. The art of marksmanship has increased to the 2nd level. Lu Xun was not very happy about this. He didn't understand why he needed this. But then Lu Xun understood what marksmanship skill meant. He decided that no man would refuse this. Meanwhile, Mr. Zhang shared that he did not expect such a scale. He decided that the official was not worthy to be the head of Yunnan County. Lu Xun tried to calm the man down, noting that everything was fine now. They had to go. The guy wanted to go to Li's mansion to wait for Ji Li to arrive. Murongyan checked the map. She noted that if the address given by Sister Ji Li was correct, then they were almost there. As they approached the mansion, they noticed that it was destroyed. This mansion used to be filled with love. Lu Xun imagined how little Ji Li played with her father, and how she learned to dance with her mother. But now there was only devastation. Murongyan noticed that it turns out that Sister Ji Li has been through a lot. Murongyan was furious. She decided that these people should die and promised to help Sister Ji Li take revenge. Lu Xun tried to calm down Murongyan. He advised her not to give in to anger and noted that although he himself wanted to teach them a lesson, some things only make sense when you do them yourself. Lu Xun thought about it. It seemed to him that these people were quite vulnerable. The guy asked Murongyan to believe in Ji Li. He was confident that she would definitely succeed. But Murongyan was still worried about her poor sister. Lu Xun suggested waiting for Ji Li. The couple spent the whole night there, but even the next morning no one showed up. Murongyan suggested that Ji Li might have gotten lost, but Lu Xun had a hard time believing it. Lu Xun wondered if Ji Li could rely on the hilt of her sword to guide her. Finally, Lu Xun saw Ji Li approaching. He hadn't realized how much he missed her until that moment. He noted that the girl had changed a lot. She has grown up. It's been so long. Lu Xun wondered if Li Xiaoyu had come to terms with the fact that he was no longer there. The guy asked Ji Li if she had taken revenge. The girl pointed to the bag that she had been carrying in her hands all this time and answered with a short, yes. Unable to contain her emotions, Murongyan rushed at the girl, squeezing her in a hug. Lu Xun also really wanted to hug the girl, but he had to restrain himself because he shouldn't hug minors. Now Ji Li's parents could rest easy. Their daughter avenged them and is now fine. Lu Xun bowed in respect to the tree. He turned to Ji Li's parents not to worry about their daughter. She is very strong and he will help her. The girl found this appeal incredibly touching. Lu Xun asked if Ji Li wanted to rebuild the mansion, but the girl replied that there were too many memories associated with this place that the girl did not want to plunge into again. After saying goodbye to the mansion, the company headed to Thun County. They stopped just on the way to the district when the system announced that there were 20 days left. The card is unblocked. Non-player game functions are activated. Lu Xun didn't expect the Tanchang continent to be so big. There were so many villages for beginners. In closed beta testing, there were about 1,000 players. How many could fit in Thun County? Lu Xun really wanted to catch some bad player. As soon as Lu Fu was inflamed with the desire to establish a relationship with someone, something incredible happened in Tong County. An hour ago, rays of light began to appear from the sky. The soldiers were in panic. They decided that there was trouble with the sky. It was collapsing. They asked for help because they did not want to die. New players were shocked by how realistic the game was. They ran, jumped, climbed trees, testing their gaming abilities. One couple decided to compete, but they were distracted by the appearance of the incredible Li Wanji. The guys noted that he was very cool. In Skydust, there is a rule according to which you need to choose normal names that, in their translation, would not offend anyone or anything. A task appeared that said that you need to follow the coordinates to get to your destination, Thun County. The guy was delighted that tasks began to appear even before they got to the newcomer's village. The guy invited his brother to become allies and shared that he was a member of the Guild of Knights. But he replied that he liked to play alone, and that he did not need allies. The guy advised them to go while he watched the local landscape. His would-be partner did not argue and simply wished him good luck. The guy was delighted with how realistic this world looked. There were even cobwebs on the trees. The guy heard some sounds nearby. Looking out from behind the bushes, he noticed a fight between an assassin and a swordsman. He was interested to know what would happen next. The assassin Li Shan informed Chen Yuntian that someone had paid 200 silver for his head, so he had better not resist. Noticing how the fencer crouched to the ground, the guy, without hesitation, rushed to protect him. He jumped out of the bushes, rushing straight towards the killer. Seeing the sword blade flashing in his hands, the guy mentally said goodbye to his life. But before the blade even got close to the guy, a beautiful man appeared out of nowhere. A powerful stream of energy flew off from him, scattering everyone present in different directions. The guy was delighted. He found it all incredibly amazing. Having noticed Lu Xun appearing from nowhere, the assassin and swordsman decided that it was time for them to urgently get out of here. Noticing that the guy's name was Mo Guanzi, Lu Xun wondered if it could just be a coincidence. After all, this name shocked the gaming world twice. The first time he started a generation and became a follower, and then he got infected and died. Lu Xun hoped that he too could meet someone great. Mo Guanzi noted that both Lu Xun's appearance and temperament were very good. He decided that if he took a photo and posted it on the forum, he could get a lot of positive feedback. The guy couldn't stop admiring Lu Xun's beauty and radiating auspiciousness. Of course, the charm of the 10th level made itself felt. In Sky Dust, the color of a player's name reflects their personality, from lowest to highest. First comes gray, yellow, blue, purple, and then orange, which was like the colors of the rainbow. Mo Guanzi felt like an idiot when he noticed that the guy had a purple name. Noticing Guanzi's stunned face, Liu Xun decided that the guy was not very smart. He wondered if he was okay and if he needed help somehow. There was a proposal to give a task to the player Mo Guanzi. Liu Xun was surprised that the system window turned purple. It turns out that everything will be much simpler. After clicking yes on the offer, Liu Xun asked the guy if he wanted to work together. In fact, he was only pretending to be noble and kind. The task has been activated. Mo Guanzi was over the moon to have met a player with a purple nickname at the very beginning of the game. He believed that things couldn't get any better. Mo Guanzi was so emotional that he involuntarily started screaming. Watching all this, Ji couldn't understand what was wrong with this guy. The girl wanted her brother to look at her and not at the guy. Liu Xun, meanwhile, noted that this young man has an amazing future. Liu Xun decided that entrusting the task to Guanzi alone was not an option. The system asked to set the necessary task requirements and rewards. Deciding that he himself needed experience points, Liu Xun chose money as a reward. Guanzi was sure that the task from the player with the purple nickname would not be easy. He wasn't even sure if he could do it with his strength. Assignment from the player with the purple nickname: find a friend and bring him. Reward for completion: 12 silver. Although Guanzi did not expect this, he was sure that much more awaited him in the future. The guy accepted the task, and Liu Xun said that it was time for them to go, since they were already waiting for him. He knew that in the early days of the game, several players could shoot. As soon as he got into the city, everyone would immediately see that he had a purple nickname. Guanzi promised that he would do everything perfectly. The guy was beside himself with joy that it was time to start. In Thun County, people were furious. They screamed, expressing their displeasure, calling it vile and not understanding what kind of crap was going on here. Guanzi asked the guy standing next to him what happened. He said that the soldiers did not let them in, saying that they were strangers of unknown origin. The soldiers said that without a pass, they would not let you in. The guy added that if it weren't for the low level, he would have shown them where the crayfish spend the winter. Guanzi was surprised at how realistic the game was. Guanzi told his brother not to worry because there is a person who can help. He decided that he would first fool him to complete the task, and then find another player and ask for help. The stranger asked if the guy knew the way, and he told him to follow him. Arriving at Liu Xun, Guanzi briefly outlined the situation to him. Liu Xun was a little surprised that they needed a pass. He didn't expect the situation to become so interesting. Guanzi confirmed that an official seal is required to confirm identity. He added that the pass is very important for him, because he is a respectable gentleman, and not some kind of fraudster. The guy who came with him didn't listen to him at all. He couldn't believe that he had met someone with a purple nickname. It seemed to him that he was sleeping. Ji advised Liu Xun not to trust these people, but the guy assured her that everything was fine and there was nothing complicated about it. Liu Xun told the guys that he believed them and they could rely on him. He needed to return to Yunnan County where they would help him. He believed that getting a pass was as easy as shelling pears. The guys were delighted with how handsome Liu Xun was and continued to radiate goodwill. Liu Xun, meanwhile, received a new side task: to help solve the problem. Reward for completing the task: 10,000 experience points and 100 reputation points. They arrived in Jinfu County. Liu Xun suggested that Ji rest for a while and he and Murongyan would come soon. Ji didn't mind. Although she didn't know why they didn't take her with them, she was happy to feel their concern. Mr. Zhang considered it a great honor to help Liu Xun. He was very glad that he had such an opportunity. Liu Xun thought that since these people were helping him, he could establish good relations with them. Liu Xun noted that Mr. Zhang's eldest daughter is very capable. He suggested that he send the girl with him to the demon clan to develop cultivation when she grew up a little. The guys were delighted when they learned that Liu Xun was from the demon clan. Now they wanted to go there too. Mr. Zhang couldn't believe his ears. In the Sky Dust, there is still a belief that children are not capable of cultivation. There are two reasons for this. The first thing is to allow children to spend a happy childhood in the company of their parents. Secondly, the older you are, the easier it is to learn. Liu Xun replied that he would never lie. Mr. Zhang thanked the guy. He didn't even know that he had such a talented daughter. Liu Xun noted that now everything depends on the master's decision. The gentleman was incredibly happy with the fact that the Zhang family would finally be able to enter the ranks of cultivators. He ordered everything to be prepared immediately. A few minutes later, the gentleman's wife and his daughters appeared. The man asked the eldest, Yuer, to show herself to her uncle. The little girl noted that this unfamiliar uncle was very handsome. Kneeling down, she tried to bow in greeting, but hit her forehead hard on the floor, which immediately gave her a bump. Lu Xun immediately became afraid for the poor girl. He thought it was very painful. He asked the little girl to stand up, although he couldn't help but notice that it was very cute. Lu Xun took the baby in his arms, asking Murong Yan to check on her. The woman did not object and put her finger to the girl's forehead. The girl watched in fascination the circles that came from her forehead. Lu Xun noted that the baby has abilities. She has 7 spiritual roots, which is considered a decent number. Mr. Zhang thanked Lu Xun and promised that once his daughter reached adulthood, he would send her to study in the demon clan. Lu Xun warned the master not to forget his promise, and then said goodbye to everyone. Lu Xun casually threw the papers to the guys, saying that they can now go wherever they want. The guys were very grateful to Lu Xun for his help. Lu Xun noted that sometimes it is good to help others. Guanzi's task was completed and the guy received his reward, 12 silver pieces. Lu Xun noted that the guys will also have other missions. Zhuo Hui really wanted the cultivator to look at him. The guy considered himself very strong. Lu Xun noted that very soon Zhuo Hui would become a subordinate of a high-ranking official. He could use such connections. In addition, if a guy starts with favorability -1, then in the future, he will make more efforts to develop. Zhuo Hui was shocked when he saw that his auspiciousness had decreased. He did not understand what he had done wrong and now considered himself too ugly. Lu Xun told the guys to go to Tong County to get the pass, and then to Qingling City. They obeyed meekly. The guys received a side mission: go to Tong County to get a pass and then to Qingling City. The reward for completing the task is an eagle finger, gray rank skill. Lu Xun decided that this was ideal for them, since there was no need to spend experience points to learn the eagle finger. Zhuo Hui couldn't restrain his desire and took a screenshot of Lu Xun. Zhuo Hui decided that in the future he would definitely return his auspiciousness back, but he noted that he was making great progress, since he was able to meet such an outstanding person. As soon as Ji Li appeared, the guy's attention immediately shifted from Lu Xun to her. They couldn't help but notice how beautiful the girl was. Lu Xun was unhappy that the guys saw Ji Li. Covering the girl with himself, he reminded her that it was time for them to go on business. The guys did not argue and jumped onto the cart. Lu Xun advised the girl to wear more covered clothes in the future and put a veil on her head. He noticed that Kia Hui took a screenshot to later post it on the forum. Lu Xun decided that then everyone would definitely go crazy. Ji Li was surprised that the guy didn't want others to look at her. Lu Xun thought that he would need to remember the nicknames of these two, and then kill them in turn. Zhuo Hui didn't understand why use a horse if cultivators could travel through the sky. Guanzi decided that the whole point was that Lu Xun was purple and therefore wanted to stand out. Moreover, otherwise they would be of no use. Kiao Hui agreed. He thought that his brother was very cool since he was able to complete the task of the purple player. Guanzi replied smugly that there was nothing difficult about it. Kiao Hui promised to take note of this. Kiao Hui shared with the chairman that he had met a purple player. So to speak, I achieved the impossible at the very beginning. Chairman Mei Qianhua was incredibly surprised by this news. The man decided that new opportunities had opened up for him. He immediately shared on the forum that a closed beta player accidentally met a purple player. Lu Xun considered this good news. He hoped to continue to remain in the spotlight. Looking through user profiles, Lu Xun noted that the current ones are quite good. He was sorry that there was no reply function, so he could have left a couple of comments. Watching the enthusiastic comments on the forum, Lu Xun decided that everything was going according to his plan. He needed to continue to advance his reputation. They got so many answers so quickly. Lu Xun wondered what would happen next. Looking at the screenshot taken, Lu Xun noted that the angle was exactly what was needed. He showed all its beauty. Players in the chat couldn't stop admiring Lu Xun's beauty. They could not understand how he could be so attractive and wanted to remember him well. Lu Xun was a little scared by how much they got carried away. The system notified that the actions were predictable. Imagining the crowds of fans who fell in love with him at first sight, and envious people who would want to take his life, Lu Xun decided that he would not press anything. The results won't be great. One girl from the forum suggested choosing a name for Lu Xun. Her choice was Purple Prince, which had already received 60,000 likes. Lu Xun thought that this did not sound very good. Another girl suggested that we first look at his ability to love, and then decide. Lu Xun really didn't like this outrageous answer. He wanted to find this man and finish him off right there. The girls sitting nearby did not understand what was happening. Murongyan asked who this brother was going to kill, and Ji Li simply asked what was the matter. Lu Xun waved it off, saying that he simply remembered the neighbor's dog and could not contain his emotions. Ji Li decided that something had happened to the dog, but Murongyan simply could not understand what it was about. In the end, Lu Xun decided that it was not that important. You also have to pay for success. At least they've already taken the bait. The company arrived in Thun County. Lu Xun reminded Guanzi to prepare the documents. Noticing the approaching carriage and the purple prince in it, people immediately abandoned what they were doing. It was not at all different from the photo, but was even better. The players advised to inform everyone who is currently offline about this. They should not have missed it. One girl noted that she stood at the gate for so long, but it was worth it. Poor Guanzi with his documents barely managed to get through this crowd. Lu Xun decided to play along with them a little. Pulling back the curtain and looking slightly out the window, he suggested that those gathered not create a crowd. The girls were delighted. One of them admitted that she was about to become pregnant. The Purple Prince took care of them. The girls promised that they would always be by his side. The girl admitted that if it were possible, she would like to live in Lu Xun's pocket. Guanzi returned and announced that it was time to distribute the passes. People were shocked that the Purple Prince decided to help them. They thought that they would never get inside, but suddenly such an influential person came to their aid. Having finished, Guanzi told the gentleman that he had given everything away. Lu Xun replied that in that case it was time for them to return. Noticing that the Purple Prince was about to leave, the people started making noise again. They hadn't seen enough of him yet, and some even said they'd go with the guy. The charmed girls said that they could not just let him go and tried to find out where the Purple Prince was going. The guys had to urgently take the cart away from there. The cart turned onto a forest road on the way to Keeling City. Lu Xun hoped that the crazed fans had stopped their persecution. Noticing Lu Xun's condition, Murongyan suggested that her brother change his appearance. Lu Xun replied that this was not necessary. People like him were characterized by such a wave of attention. He will be especially happy if this is a wave of attention from fans. Side mission: help players solve problems, completed. Received a reward for completing the task, 10,000 experience points and 100 reputation points. The system offered to give players tasks to gain more experience points. Payout: 2,000 points, updated every 24 hours. Previous points, 500 per day. Lu Xun decided that if these points were divided among several players, it would be a great way to attract help. It was time to implement his plans. After some time, the guys informed the cultivators that they had arrived. Murongyan ordered them to park the carriage in a quiet corner. The guys did as they were told. Wary, Murongyan ordered them to be quiet. A thick fog appeared around the carriage. The guys decided that this was some kind of wonderful technique, because if you are not inside, the carriage is not visible. Murongyan warned the guys to be quiet as the gentleman was meditating inside the carriage. Ji Li carefully watched Lu Xun's meditation. She felt that the direction of his blades had changed, but it was difficult for her to tell for sure. Today was the last day for blade cultivation, so Lu Xun needed to hurry. Quite a long time passed, and Lu Xun still failed to get close to second elder sister. The first 29 days were quite difficult, but now the guy began to get used to it. There has been an improvement in the abilities of a swordsman from the first level to the second. Lu Xun did not understand where the promotion came from. But if you think about it, it wasn't that bad. Previously, the first attribute point was useless. Lu Xun decided that it was time to ascend. The system congratulated the host for obtaining blade intent, and the swordsman's skill increased from level 2 to level 3. Lu Xun was glad that he was finally able to create something of his own, namely blade intent. Alarmed, Ji Li asked Lu Xun how he was. The guy replied that everything was fine and did not understand why the girl was so surprised. Murongyan, who suddenly rushed in, also asked what happened, but Lu Xun assured her that everything was fine, and it was just nothing. Lu Xun was very happy that he had received the blade's intent, but he should not underestimate the consequences. Other players in the cities were also not far behind in strength. Lu Xun ordered to head to the city. They needed to move in as soon as possible. Keeling Town is the closest town among several villages. It is under the protection of the Demon Clan, so no one dares to create disturbances here. There are no restrictions. The city gates are always open. A woman watching the carriage pass was surprised by the presence of a blue rank artifact. She thought it was interesting. The task was completed. The Eagle Claw skill, Gray level skill, was obtained. The guys were sure that he would soon achieve success. The girls didn't understand what was wrong with these two. The inn worker asked the company if they planned to stay with them. Morong Yan answered in the affirmative. The man happily invited the cultivators to go inside. Since the third heir became addicted to cooking and decided to stop his cultivation, he decided to head a restaurant as well as a hotel. Lu Sun noted that now that the task is completed, Cho Hoi can leave. Lu Xun decided that it was time to begin implementing the first point of the plan, allowing the guys to develop themselves. One of the recommendations of the scumbag guys is to do this when you run out of money. Qiao Hui was shocked. The Purple Prince chases him away. He decided that he had done something wrong. The guy looked at Guanzi, but he was silent. He knew nothing and did not dare say anything. Zhuo Hui's skill level was too low, so Lu Xun didn't see much point in being with him. The guy felt tears welling up in his eyes. Lu Xun ordered the guy to go and continue cultivating, and when the time came, he would call him. He believed that Chief Shen would be able to raise Cho Hoi, but for now he could only wait. Zhuo Hui asked if this meant that if he became strong enough, he would be able to follow the cultivator. He decided that he was too weak now. Lu Xun noted that the guy was smart. Zhuo Hui immediately rejoiced at the praise and promised that he would not let his master down. The guy was glad that the Purple Prince had high hopes for him. Someday he will be able to stand side by side with him. Now he had a goal. Zhuo Hui began to say goodbye to Guanzi with tears in his eyes. He asked his brother to help the cultivator well while he trained. Zhuo Hui could see with his naked eye that the Purple Prince valued his brother more than him. He believed that when he returned he would become number one. Then the cultivator will definitely take it with him too. Guanzi asked the cultivator if this meant that he also needed to train more. Lu Xun replied that yes, but not so, and invited Guanzi to become his assistant. Since he didn't have a blade, he decided to use the guy. This option suited him just right. Guanzi was overjoyed. This meant that the Purple Prince was taking him on as his student. He was such a lucky guy. Guanzi immediately agreed. Jili was furious. She was deprived of her chance again. Guanzi didn't understand how he even got into the closed beta testing, but he was sure that a bright future was destined for him. It turns out that if some gamers see the Purple Prince, they will write to him. This meant that he could solve the problem of his loneliness. The Demon Clan is one of the most important clans in the Sky Dust, and the Purple Prince is the person actively promoting it. Guanzi heard that there are many interesting things in the Demon Clan. He could no longer wait for this, agreeing to join the clan. Agreeing to become his henchman, Guanzi learned that the Purple Prince's name was Lu Xun. He was sure that now the girl's attention would be drawn to him. Lu Xun noticed that a mentoring system had opened for him, and was a little surprised by this. He believed that the mentoring system opens at the 30th level and did not understand why such an advance. He decided that it was all because of his miraculous abilities. Lu Xun decided that first he would need to teach the guy everything so that he would not try to tarnish his reputation. Lu Xun noted that this title is very secret and should not be shared with everyone. Guanzi assured Lu Xun not to worry, he would keep his mouth shut. Lu Xun gave the guy the task of familiarizing himself with the area and returning here in 10 days. It was necessary to allow Guanzi to go on a short journey so that it would bear fruit. Lu Xun promised that if any problems arose, Guanzi could come here. This hidden message meant that if there was any difficult task, the guy could turn to the Purple Prince. Guanzi was delighted. He was glad that the Purple Prince was helping him so much like a father. Lu Xun decided that he would first give the guy a gingerbread to move him closer, give Guanzi 5 auspiciousness. The guy was beside himself with happiness. Lu Xun suggested that the girls go shopping for now, but advised them to change their clothes first so as not to be conspicuous. They happily agreed. Lu Xun had just started to change his clothes, standing bare-chested when Zili knocked on the door, wondering if she could come in. Noticing the half-naked Lu Xun, the girl was stunned. She had such an opportunity that she even forgot all the words. Lu Xun tried to calmly ask what was the matter meanwhile, unable to take his eyes off Jili's chest. Lu Xun found this a little awkward. He was sure that Jili couldn't even see his feet. Unable to bear it, Jili admitted that she wanted to become Lu Xun's ward. The guy was a little taken aback by this statement. He was surprised that the ward was a girl. Jili persistently asked to be accepted as a swordswoman. She couldn't let others get ahead. Lu Xun was only hers. Lu Xun was not sure that the girl understood everything correctly. It seemed to him that she did not want to be his swordsman, rather his close one in bed. The girl promised that she would fulfill any wishes of her brother. Lu Xun was not surprised that Zili fell in love with him at first sight. It couldn't have been otherwise. But she was only 16, so the guy forbade himself to even think about it. Lu Xun replied that there was no need for the girl to become his ward. Zili decided that she was not good enough. Lu Xun asked the girl not to bother herself with nonsense, noting that she had achieved great success, mentally adding that one of these was her bust. Zili admitted that she wanted to become stronger to protect Lu Xun, but she was sad that he didn't give her a chance. Lu Xun affectionately stroked the girl's head, admitting that he was very pleased with this thought. But he also noted that this man should be a protector. The city of Qiling was quite lively today. The singing of birds, the sounds of eating and drinking were heard all around. But in all this variety of sounds, Zili heard only her heart. Zili couldn't restrain herself again, expressing a ton of auspiciousness. Lu Xun noted that she used her head well, pushing her chest forward to defeat men, but he would do well to distract her. Zili was a little surprised at Lu Xun's request to see how much her skills had improved. The girl was upset. The atmosphere was ruined. It seemed to her that something else was about to happen. Suddenly jumping up, Lu Xun hit the girl on the head with a swing, causing her to reflexively jump back. Their little training session had been going on for half an hour. Lu Xun, with a satisfied grin on his face, pressed the girl to the floor, hanging on top. She wasn't sure if he was still checking on her. Chuckling, Lu Xun asked how the girl was going to protect him with such skills. Zili immediately promised herself to work even harder. She will definitely succeed in everything in the future. The way Zili looked at the guy involuntarily sent a chill down Lu Xun's spine. Kneading her stiff muscles, Zili thanked her brother for the training and assured him that she understood everything. But Lu Xun was not sure about this. After a little training, everyone finally went outside. Murong Yan didn't understand why there were so many turtles around. Lu Xun also noticed this. He also didn't understand why the turtles dropped when they saw him. Murong Yan suggested that in this way they pay tribute to their brother. Lu Xun was very surprised by this assumption. The turtle was one of the sacred animals. Together with the dragon, phoenix, and Qilin, she personified good luck. Murong Yan noted that this was a good sign. But Zili didn't understand why there were so many of them here, and people didn't seem to see this as a problem. Lu Xun said that the city of Qiling was built on a giant turtle shell that protects the city. Therefore, the local residents considered turtles to be sacred animals and revered them in every possible way. Zili was delighted with how smart Lu Xun was, but the guy just shrugged it off, noting that it was just a small fact. In fact, he learned all this in his previous life when he played a game. Wary, Murong Yan told her brother that someone was watching them. Lu Xun ordered everyone not to show it and move on. Zili excitedly approached Lu Xun. She hoped they weren't bandits. The girl tried to look scared in order to get closer to the guy. Murong Yan replied that Qiling City is a place under the protection of the demon clan, so the vast majority of people do not dare to make a fuss. She wondered who was so brave here. Maintaining an imperturbable calm, Lu Xun only replied that they would know it when they saw it. He was surprised that they had taken a break last night, but today they were already being followed.